Let's settle now for the news. And in our first story, more than half of the members of parliament belonging to the opposition NDC have resolved to still recognize Haruna Iddrisu as the minority leader. There have been major disagreements within the party after Dr. Akwesi Appiah was named as the new leader of the NDC minority, ending Haruna Iddrisu's 6-year tenure. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Akakpo Asante has a wrap of Thursday's encounter with those press conferences.
The current leaders of the House, Honorable Haruna Iddrisu Muntaka and co, are deemed to still be in office.
Former Majority Leader Cletus Avocade announcing the resolve of he and some 69 other colleagues to continuously recognize ousted Haruna Iddrisu as the minority's leader in Parliament. This is despite the party announcing Akwesi Appiah as the new minority leader. The group says the party has acted unlawfully in the change of leadership. Early on Thursday, the new minority leader, Dr. Appiah, held a news conference at which he pledged to unite the party.
I have held fruitful and positive conversation, in fact, frank conversation, with my senior brother, the Honorable Haruna Iddrisu. I commended him for his admirable leadership and stewardship when he was granted the opportunity by a great party to lead us. Our first responsibility is to unite the caucus, and that will be number one on the agenda. Things of this nature happens, but obviously there's the need for us to show leadership, and we will do just that.
He followed this up with a meeting with the NDC's national leadership, with his colleagues who make up the new leadership. Ousted Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak says they only want due process to be followed.
We are equally concerned that the letters that were issued were not the decision of the party. Our party as NDC has about 4 decision-making group structures. First, the Congress, where all delegates meet to take decision. Second is the National Executive Committee, that's NEC. And then third is the Functional Executive Committee. It is when this group take decision, then you get the General Secretary and the principal officers implement. Then we also have the Council of Elders, even though our constitution says that they are advisory. Sometimes, periodically, they also give directions and then the party tries to implement. We are firm, because I serve as on FEC, I serve on NEC, I go to Council of Elders as an observer, and I also on the political committee as an observer. Congress, all of us as members of Parliament are members of Congress. And the minority leader is also on all these levels. At no such meeting was there any agenda to discuss this. So it is clear that it is a letter, yes, written by the General Secretary, but the decision may be just the decision of some few people in the party. And we believe that our party should sit up.
The new leadership also paid a courtesy call on Speaker Alban Bagbin. Here is Deputy Minority Leader Emmanuel Amakufi-Boa.
It's wise counsel, so we are very encouraged by it, and we've thanked him for that. You know, our priority right now is to make sure that we unite our caucus. That's our number one priority, and that is so important to us. Of course, you cannot lead when your crowd, your people are not united, and that's our singular focus, and we are confident we will do that.
From the look of things, this deep crack in the NDC will fester for a while, even as party leadership try to calm the waters in the background. Reporting for JoyNews, Akakpo Asante.
Now, a young man in his early 30s has been butchered by unknown assailants at Krofrom in the Ashanti region. Eyewitnesses say the incident occurred around 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Residents suspect a revenge attack by the assailants a year after the deceased harmed their colleague. Love FM's Nanabwache Dankwayadom has more in the following report.
The deceased is only known as Candy in the Krofrom community. Residents who witnessed the alleged murder say the deceased died after receiving multiple cutlass wounds from the assailants.
Ya o receive na chi na hwa ha na yes baako epie firi na chi na obeyere no to oyere na wotani se odese kan bo no se one ne strike na mienu su firi ase ba na baako firi suru ba no me se omutwitwa no to firi ana omode bo na moja ne bi peten kai ho ti from ha se no diri me ka fa ase o se nti ase no kobuhwe no eno ano no ti me nua boys ne boys omo wa ha se omo ne tam no mo de no ko hospital mo ko do hospital mo so wawu ti me tiem na se ntokwa na ye last year na mo ko play boy baako.
So after he was being mobbed by armed men, he tried to struggle for his life. But unfortunately, he fell down here and he was unable to survive.
The body of the deceased has since been deposited at the Kumfanochi Teaching Hospital morgue. From Kumasi, Nana Boachi Dankwa reporting for JoyNews.
Well, following from there, the Wa High Court has handed another sentence to 2 robbers who have already been sentenced to 20 years imprisonment. Wa High Court Judge Justice Yusuf Asibe sentenced the duo to a combined 35-year imprisonment term in hard labor for robbery. Rafiq Salam now reports.
The trial, presided over by the supervising Wa High Court Judge Justice Alhaji Yusuf Asibe, lasted for 14 months. The crime was alleged to have been committed by 4 notorious hardened criminal quadruplet cabal who makes life uncomfortable for travelers on the Solowa Highway. One of the suspects was lynched by the village folks, whilst another is at large. 2 of the suspects, 19-year-old Musa Al-Hassan and 20-year-old Isaku Muizdin, were therefore arrested and slapped with 4 charges: attempted robbery, unlawful entry, and harm. They pleaded no guilty to the charges and had no legal representation. In the end, the first accused, Musa Al-Hassan, was found guilty of the 4 charges and sentenced to 20-year imprisonment, while the second accused, Isaku Muizdin, was found guilty of 3 charges and sentenced to 15 years imprisonment and in hard labor. Here is the prosecutor and Principal State Attorney at the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General's Department in the Upper West Region, Lawyer Shahid Abdul Shakur, stating the facts of the case.
On the 13th of November 2021, 4 armed men around Ga, between Ga and Samombo, stopped travelers and robbed them of various sums of money. In the process, a pregnant woman who was 8 months pregnant was being taken to the hospital because he had problems. And then they stopped him, but the motor rider managed to escape with the pregnant woman and rushed her to the nearest village and informed the village. And the village mobilized and came in and was able to arrest one of the accused persons. That's the first accused person. But the 3 other persons managed to escape. Later in the night, that was around 2 a.m. Later in the night, the police again had information and moved in and arrested the second accused person. But the 4th accused person was also arrested by the villagers. Unfortunately, by the time the police got there, he was lynched. The 3rd accused person is on the run. We don't know his whereabouts, and I think that we are still fighting to get him. But today we had a judgment. After about a year of trial, the court ruled today and found as a fact that we have proven our case beyond reasonable doubt, and they were convicted and sentenced to 15 years imprisonment, IHL.
The 2 jailbirds are already serving 20-year sentence for robbery by the Wasaikur court.
Same accused persons were already convicted by the circuit court, because at the time that they were on trial, at some point they were admitted to bail, and during the time of their bail they went and committed another robbery again. This time round they was arraigned before circuit court, and the circuit court expeditiously dealt with them and sentenced them to 20 years imprisonment in the circuit court case. And now Today, they've been sentenced to 15 years imprisonment.
And now, the Dagbon Forum wants the special prosecutor to investigate the sale of government lands in Tamale. The forum says the OSP should give the Tamale land similar attention it gave state land at the Achimota Forest. Members of the forum believe the investigations should start from 2012 to cover both the NDC and the current NPP regimes.
The Dagbon Forum is a platform for all Dagombers to work to promote peace and development of the Dagbon Kingdom. The forum is made up of eminent sons and daughters of the kingdom from home and abroad. It is in this vein that the forum is asking for interventions. Addressing a press conference in Tamale, the president of the Dagbon Forum, Chief Sokoyana Mahama Santaro, said the wanton sale of government lands in the area would not be tolerated any longer.
As per an eviction notice to traders at the timber market in Abu has been disposed of to a private developer. We first of all wish to put it on record that such a place in Abu named Ward I and the entire forest reserve area that includes the Abu timber market is a protected area. It belongs to the Forestry Commission. The entire forestry area is under the management of the Forestry Commission as per Ghana Forest Ordinance Act 1927, Cap 157. In the light of this, we wish to point out that no part of the forest land can be sold or disposed of without an executive instrument that can alter the original arrangement. We are therefore by this sending a caution that any attempt to encroach the forestry land under the pretext of private development will be resisted and challenged by all means possible legally.
He also named some other government land he said they have been given out.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends from the media, we have got significant number of examples such as reckless sale and acquisition of land in around Tamale. Mention can be made of the old Irrigation Development Authority Bangalore, behind Catholic Guest House, near Agric Traffic, where staff of the Ministry of Agric were living, disposed of.
In our next story, some individual bondholders are asking government to pay arrears owed them. They say government has for the past 2 years failed to honor its promise of paying bondholders on the amalgamated mutual fund, which faces extinction by the domestic debt exchange. Yao is an affected investor.
They paid the first portion in 2021 with a promise to pay another 20% in 22 and then the remaining 60% in the next 3 years. But last year they did not make any payment. And they even had a courtesy of informing creditors there and they had not made any money. We waited and nothing came. People made calls, they were only told that they don't have money and that was it. I do have some inner feeling that the AM fund may probably have invested the money in these bonds as well. That could be contrary to the Public Financial Management Act because it was government's own money that was approved by Parliament to be used to pay these creditors. It couldn't have been used to buy government bonds again. But it amazes me how the AM fund is dry just after a year after the entire 28 billion was approved for government to pay these creditors. So, I mean, this is why we are currently protesting the inclusion of individuals in this domestic debt exchange because there are a lot of people in my category who lost money in the first banking sector cleanup and are currently also going to lose money in the exchange. So you are just telling us basically that we can't trust banks, we can't trust mutual funds, and we can't trust anybody else.
And that's how we wrap up the news this morning. But stay with us. The news review is right up next. We'll be right back. Here we are back again to continue with the show. And it's time now for the news review. I'm joined by Samuel Kojo Brace, an assisting editor here at JoyNews. Kojo, for boom.
Yeah.
Marche.
Yeah, Minia.
Napome.
Solid as always.
Solid as always.
Yeah, now also there.
Yesterday we had a bit of an interesting confab when I met you at the car park. And are you taking my advice?
Oh, I am. I am.
It's very important. We'll not mention what, but it's crucial.
Very,
to our ability to continue doing what we do.
Papa. My dream when we said no.
Yeah.
So
yes, Commissioner. It is well.
But can also a bonus saying
which one?
Vandalism. Is that
vandalism?
Vandalism.
I'm an old vandal, but I don't engage in vandalism. You know, vandalism per Commonwealth Hall is very different from the real meaning.
Okay. Vandalism. Okay. Hey, brofo banana. There's more to brofo than die.
Ayo, but interesting developments that have been going on, the NDC.
Oh my goodness.
And all of that. I mean, we've had people tell us, still focus on the economy. Don't think we've forgotten about the economy. Today, when I share my blunt thoughts with you, I'll be going hard on the debt exchange and all of that. And look out for the gifts I promised yesterday for the Education Minister, Dr. Yaose Educhum. But we're also talking about the minority and quite some interesting developments in there. The papers capture them, so we'll just save that for when we get into the papers. I have the Ghanaian Times, the Finder, the New Weekend Crusading Guide. What do you have, Kojo?
But, okay, I also have the Daily Graphic, the Daily Guide, and the Chronicle. But before you get to the blunt thought and you share some gift for the minister, I think there was an unfortunate comment from him. As a leader of a sector where there are so many challenges. And look, when I went to the Western region, I mean the Asankragwa area, I went to Hiawa.
Hiawa?
Yes.
Okay.
Hiawa is...
so when you did your Bordier and all of that?
Yes.
It's in that community as well?
So but when from Bordier to Asankragwa, you meet Hiawa. Before you get to Asankragwa. So that's like the major community. So major Bordier is one, Hiawa is one, and then even Amenfi is also one. Manswa Menfi is also another major community before Asankragwa. Look, and we'll show that as well as part of the whole School of Shame thing. When we are done with the part 4, we'll bring this one as an adapt to it. There's this school I went into and I was like, what? Children sit under this structure. Look, Ben, you could see the block falling off. It just hasn't come, but it will come, like the one on top of the door.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't become another Bremanjamra.
I tell you what. I mean,
because we as a group together with well-meaning Ghanaians are trying to resolve the situation there. We hope this doesn't end in another death. I think it was 6 school children who died in that one. 8 of them.
Yes. I think so. Even my memory is not playing.
Bremanjamra was 6. I think it was 6.
All right, that's fine.
Is the recent drowning one on the Volta Lake that was 8?
Look, the structure I saw that kicked in, I was like, what? How could we allow our children stay in such structures? And these are even when I was doing the report, at that particular that few minutes that I spent, I was so afraid for my life. So if we have, such a thing, there as I saw, and journalists are bringing that up to you for you to then address them, and as the minister of that sector, you get such an opportunity, and the only thing you can say is to chastise the journalists and the media house for doing the Lord's work.
If your attention hadn't been drawn to that and someone is saying, I've used my resources, we've taken our cameras, logistics, human resource, we've gone there and done the work you should be doing.
I'm not sure.
And we're telling you that, Minia, this is what is. Give them attention. You rather turn around. And I'm not surprised from parliamentarians to academics to everybody has chastised him. I found it even more... sometimes I just try to season the words. The PRO also came here.
Trying to
defend. It's a good thing I didn't have a conversation with him yesterday.
I didn't understand.
Because I think I would have simply lost it, Kojo. If these were the children of these people in officialdom, would they be singing the same tune?
No, I think they have not seen what we have seen. Because like I said, the structure I saw, if I were the minister or even the district education officer, I may probably, if I know I cannot solve it, I have to just leave. Because it's a shame. It's a big shame that in 2022-2023, we still have school children schooling under very, dangerous structures. Structures that can come down at any moment in time. And we have children that as young as 3, 4. Why do we do this to ourselves? And if a minister say, look at these children, they come from schools of shame. These are few. And who says that even where they are coming from, their structures are good? If they are intellectually, sound, it doesn't mean that they are sitting under very good structures. It doesn't. So his comment of the fact that I was ashamed because we are trying to put up the ills, has he forgotten that we were the same people who were showing some of the things he was doing as a deputy minister? Has he forgotten that we've even shown here tech things that people are doing? Every Thursday, we bring tech innovations that young people are doing.
When the STEM schools,
yes,
everything to do with the STEM schools. In fact, the very G-Step event he was at, who was covering that?
I mean,
who has been advertising that? Who has been pushing that? And in fact, let me even say this. Sometimes we skirt the issues. Some of our media entities like ours spoke about everything he was talking about and all of that. In a way, I feel we even contributed to the attention he got, making him a candidate for education minister. Today, he bites the very finger that, gave him food.
It's unfortunate. I think that having reflected over his comment, I'm sure he has had a change of mind.
A change of what?
If he
that's
has,
my problem with African leaders. Even when they know, Charlie, wait, they
will keep quiet. But he should let people say, I was, that's an unfortunate comment.
Because we all get carried away at
exactly. Because look, you cannot look at children who are living in such conditions and lambast journalists for bringing that out.
You tell me, he says, these ones here, the G-Step ones, schools of fame. How many schools of fame do we have? Take out the private institutions. Let's go public. And you tell me, Mr. Minister, how many schools of fame we have?
I'm not sure he travels widely. Because
how can you say that?
No. But why would
are you saying within Ghana or outside of Ghana?
Yeah,
because he's always touting. No. I found it interesting that day.
I'm talking about within Ghana.
He was there, and I spent 12 years in the US doing this, and another 12 years, Massa.
But in Ghana,
it's not the tenure. It's what you can do with what you supposedly acquired. It's not about the talk. Nowadays, I'm beginning to wonder when Alan Chemartin came off and said, NATO, no action, talk only. I'm now beginning to look microscopically at a lot of these ministers, and I realize, no, I'm not saying, I'm saying a lot of these ministers. And I'm beginning to realize that a lot of them are NATO in that way. No action, talk only.
We have to give him the list and probably go to the communities and shoot videos. If you go to this community, this is how the structure is. Go to this community, this is how the structure, this community, this is how the structure is. So that he would look at them and feel that, hey, then I was wrong. I don't know Ghana very well. Maybe he doesn't. If we are starting from where I know, in Hunter West, I know Hunter West very well. I can mention the communities and tell him how the structures are there. Maybe he has to go there and find out.
I think the education minister has done well for this country. You know why? By his arrant attitude on this matter. I think he's given us a jab in the arm to expose more of these. So we'll bring those schools of fame, his schools of fame. We'll go around the country and bring them in his face, and then he'll tell us how famous.
Maybe he doesn't understand our job. Look, man, this small boy who had a tube in his stomach. We did the story. That wasn't a good story, isn't it? In quote, in his own way, in his view, it wasn't a good story. But we got people to bring money, and today this boy is on the way of getting healed of that particular. If God gives us the mercies and grace for him to go through the surgery successfully and heal, he would have come out of it, isn't it? Is it not the job of a journalist bringing that up to get people to say, let's turn our attention to that so that he could get healed? When we did the School of Shame, I'm told that people started calling from US and Co. to see how they can help. What does he think that we have to sit and be bringing only the few School of Fame in his own words, so that, and then what? So we leave the ones that are suffering. He doesn't understand our job. Our job is to tell the story the way they are. And then he should be ready because, like you said, we'll go and then bring more of those.
And this is why, just to wrap, I don't keep politicians as friends. I always tell, no, that's my policy. NDC MPP, they'll tell you. You can be my acquaintance. We can have conversations and, you know, oh, this is what, but I don't keep politicians too close. Because I don't want you to get too close to the point where if your matter come where they bash you up.
I cannot talk about it.
That's my policy.
Yeah.
I don't know about others, but that's just the way it is.
Okay. Interesting.
Let's get into the papers.
Yeah.
We have some let me see, plus or minus about some 20 minutes. Let's make the most of it.
Okay. Now, Council of State explores ways, and that's the Daily Graphic. Council of State explores ways to reduce debt exchange impact. Minority leadership reshuffle. Dr. Atuforsen calls for calm. Former leadership petitions elders.
The matter chop hot.
Very hot. Suspected food poisoning. Wache kills 540 others affected. Okay. And there's this on the Constituency Watch. Sanerigu, host of major educational institutions, but cries for development. Now, let me bring a matter that is of interest to a lot of us. The debt exchange program, and see what the Council of State is doing. Now, it says the Council of State has engaged the Institute of Chartered Accountant, Ghana, and the Ghana Association of Bankers to enable it to make suitable recommendations to the government on measures to reduce the impact of the Domestic Debt Exchange Program, DDEP. The Council gave the assurance that it would, in line with its mandate, continue to engage institutions and groups and make the necessary recommendations so as to find suitable solutions to the country's challenges, including the current financial challenges. In a statement issued yesterday, the Council said the engagement was in view of the urgency and critical importance of the DDEP for a successful conclusion of negotiations with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the effect on individual and institutional bondholders. But it looks like we are not. We will get out of this any moment soon. But there's been some progress. I'm told that the bankers, have had some agreement with, I think they've agreed with government about this whole DDEP program. That's why the individual bondholders are saying that, well, if the institutions have agreed, can you then spare the individual bondholders? But yesterday, the Individual Bondholders Forum met with the government side and they agreed on certain things. I'm told that recommendation has been then sent to the finance minister to either adopt or call the bluff, and then we move on to see what it is.
I mean, they've cited so many things. The CapEx, capital expenditure, among others. They've had that interaction with Togbe Apede.
That happened yesterday as well.
Of the Asogli state and all of that. It is clear that this is going to do a lot of damage. It is clear. When you hear members of parliament even talk about the issue, you know that this is something that could sink a lot of people. Many lives are on the line. You remember our 77-year-old friend. In fact, just yesterday, Bishop Charles Ajinasari, Perishapel. You follow the story, right? So he had an investment with one of these institutions, bondholder-like. 106,000. He goes to say, I want my money. And do you know what they tell him? We can't do that now. The best we can do for you is give you 1,000 cedis a week. Every year has about 53 weeks. So basically, they're telling him, we'll give you 1,000 cedis a week for 2 years.
1,000?
Yes, 106 weeks. That's 2 years.
So they'll give him 1,000
and here's the killer. They are even being charitable to him. So
that's what they said?
Well, basically, they told him, per what he said, that enumpono is a favor they are doing him.
Hey!
His own money.
Okay.
So when it comes to ordinary Joes like us, Yabutu.
But that's why the individual bondholders are saying that if government carries through with this, it will dampen the investment culture of this country. And so we should watch it. Now, what are they recommending? The individual bondholders say that the government should lend the $900 million Ghana Heritage Funds to the Bank of Ghana to shore up the reserves.
Right.
They're also saying that we should restructure the Fiscal Council to include a creditors committee made up of reps from all investor classes in Government of Ghana local bonds, and empower the council to be an enforcing and binding institution and not just an advisory body. So now this body that we've heard about, the Council of, the Fiscal Council, it should not be advisory. It should be a body with tooth that can bite. Now, this may be a key to ensuring and sustaining the fiscal discipline required to realize our debt sustainability. So those are the, part of the recommendations that they sent to government. Let's see how the finance minister will also react to this. But this was an agreement they reached with the government side led by Samuel Akest, who is with the Ministry of Finance. So let's see how this one goes. But it's interesting where we are with regards to all the hula baloo about this debt exchange program. It all boils down to consultation.
Yeah.
Just like what is happening in the minority side. Everything has to do with whether you consulted the parties involved.
There are so many things you can achieve by talking to people. Ghanaians are not some, this is not an intractable conflict of any sort. Ghanaians are very understanding. But when you take us for granted, then sometimes, and there's a certain warped logic that I don't get. You tried something with previous, policies like the e-levy. People said to you, you know what,
you should
try and do it this way. No. In the end, you're practically coming back. DDE, try and do it this way. Oh, no. In the end, you're practically coming back. I mean, I don't know what it would take for people to listen, or as though it were. And you see, when you do that, you also create a scenario where people now think, okay, so everything that comes up, this is the way to go. You bully us, we bully you back. We twist your arm, and then you respond. When you do that, you hobble your own governance systems because every little thing you do, now people will, be very aggressive towards it. Because people think you're taking them for granted.
Yeah. It's something that should teach every government, or this government, and subsequent ones, a lesson. That
they will learn nothing, trust me.
Well,
at least this administration has shown
exactly.
it learns nothing.
I mean, from the e-levy thing to where we are. But I hope that going forward something can change. The same individual Bondholders Forum wrote a statement and said that we have taken note of the joint press release by the Ministry of Finance and the Ghana Association of Bankers dated, blah, blah. We think that once the Association of Bankers and the government of Ghana have reached an agreement, spare us, because ours is just 11% of the whole thing. Let's see how it goes. But let me finish this or conclude this one on the minority fracas. Now, the new minority leader in Parliament, Dr. Akwesi Appiah, has appealed to the rank and file of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, not to dwell too much on the recent reshuffle in the parliamentary leadership of the party. Rather, party members should focus on what the new leadership in Parliament will do to complement the effort of the party to better the lot of the people of Ghana. And he's promising to lead with integrity. But, man, that's also another thing that has to do with the attitude of the Ghanaian. We never consult in these things because the other side is saying that you didn't consult us. But I wonder how they can do such a major thing without consulting anybody. The parliamentarians are of the view that you need to consult us because there's a way we have to elect leadership of the House. The standard practice should be that we, the caucus, will propose and then the party will bless it.
I don't think that is standard practice.
Well, no.
Actually, it isn't standard
according
practice.
According to the MPs,
but some consultation.
According to the MPs, what they were talking about on their own platform. I am not an MP, but if they are wrong, then I'm also wrong. According to them.
Because we've actually spoken about these matters. Trust me, that's not how it... In fact, when Haruna himself, together with his team, were coming in...
Oh, okay. Then it means that some
it's
of
not
them,
necessarily...
Because some of the MPs wrote on, sources that we've gotten, that, look, we, the caucus, should decide on this number of people that we want them to be the leadership, and then they will take it to the party for the party to bless us.
There's a lot to dispute that. But the point to be made is that there could have been a lot. Consultation.
But whatever it is, because they said that when they met in 2021 and they took a decision about leadership, they said that going forward, there will be that deeper consultation. You will come to us for us to then be in the know of everything that's happening. So for this to happen, that just after when we met in 2021 to discuss this, and in 2023 you are changing leadership without consulting us, it was just dumped on us. So there's a group that says that we will not agree. Even yesterday, Cletus Appiah was saying that the old leadership are still the leaders because Parliament is on recess.
We'll see how that pans out.
Exactly.
We'll see how that
very,
pans
very
out.
interesting. Yeah.
Well, let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper very quickly. Uproar in NDC as minority leadership changes. That story we've been bringing to you. Dr. Atuforsen calls for calm, promises to unite party for 2024 electoral victory. Wasenia High Technical School records 2 fire outbreaks in 24 hours. At the Africa Prosperity Dialogue, develop solutions needed to deepen intra-African trade. That's according to the Vice President. I like the way in Ghana we're always looking at, let's try to do. We never do. 2 granted 2 million Ghana cedi bail for alleged robbery. Let's look at the Wasenia High School issue, especially as we've looked at the politics of the NDC. We've spoken at length about it. Page 24 is what is it page 24? Is it? Because, okay, so it's on the back page, actually. Nearly 24 hours after fire engulfed 5 dormitories at the Wasenia High Technical School in the Upper West region, on Monday, 2 more dormitories at the school were razed down by another fire on Tuesday evening. The second fire, which started around 8 p.m., caused great panic among the students. In an interview with the media on Tuesday, the girls' prefect of the school, Winifred Kogani, said they had gone to learn in the evening when they heard some of the girls screaming for help. She said the timely arrival and intervention of officers of the Ghana National Fire Service prevented the fire from spreading to other parts of the dormitory. That's all the belongings of the students in the affected 2 rooms were burnt, she said. And they couldn't recover anything. That's the situation there. Businesswoman fined 600 Ghana cedis for building in Marshy area. That story on page 3. A businesswoman, Josephine Amekowu, has been fined by a Hohoi Magistrates Court for building in a marshy area without development permit. Amekowu pleaded guilty and was convicted on her own plea. She will pay 600 Ghana cedis or in default serve 6 months in prison. She is also to pay 500 Ghana cedis as compensation to the Hohoi Municipal Assembly. I had to bring this up, highlighted, because we're approaching the rainy season again. Yeah. And we'll start with all of these and buildings on waterways and all of that, and in places they shouldn't be, and other people will suffer. I'm glad they've started this, but I am again pointing out at the start of the year, I was mentioning, or was it late last year, what are we going to do? It's going to be another cycle. The rains come, people get affected, there's flooding, some people may lose their lives. Then we go back to it, and government will step in, and we're going to do this, and dredging, and The media will take it up for 2 weeks, 1 month, and then we're go back to the same vicious cycle.
It's good this is coming up. I pray that we go after the bigger fishes. Because look, I can talk of the Western region because I know the terrain quite well. There are bigger facilities in waterways that have caused a lot of flooding incidents in the past few years. Nobody is able to touch them because these are bigger people. I mean, I'm sure this one, 600 cedis, maybe because of
1,100 in all.
Probably looking at how she is. I don't know the structure. Maybe some 2-bedroom or whatever house. Look,
I don't know whether the structure will be brought down because, from what I gather, I mean, I'm not fully an expert on this. I'm no expert, in fact, but if they're going to do this, then the structure probably should come down as well.
If you go to the Western region, you remember last year, there was flooding incident at a school called St. Mary's. It was heavily reported in Ghana. It used not to be the case until a businessman came to put up a facility in a swampy area there. In front of St. Mary's. Yes, in front of St. Mary's, there used to be this huge, like a reservoir, where the water from the upland exactly collects, and then it seeps away gently. Then this businessman blocks it. He's not allowed to construct any drain underneath the structure. This is a heavy building, big one, because it's a
Is it a factory of some sort?
It's a logistics house, hub. So we have these machinery there, all the machines you can think about, the trucks you can think about, they are there. So it's a big place. Now he doesn't construct any drains underneath the structure such that the water can still have a way to go. And so when the rain falls, where is it going to collect? It doesn't, so it has to collect on the road. And that's why we're having that incident. People were walking, how many hours? Like 3 hours from Takoradi to get to their communities because flooding, cars cannot move. So really, if we are doing this, we should go after these
So
people.
one person.
One.
You see the problems
exactly
that have been created. And when you go into it, you will definitely find some political elements, some technocrats who are backing this person, allowing him to get away with murder, so to speak, because this act is affecting lives.
And 3 years ago, the assembly went to just open the drain in front of the structure. It didn't work because look, the place is big. You cannot open that small drain to say to make way or to replace that huge space that he has occupied. And for the first time, 3 years ago, I think that school, St. Mary's Boys, had its wall breaking off when the rain fell.
Because over time, if the water keeps battering it,
and nobody is
it
doing
will
anything.
fall.
So once we're chasing this one, the Western Region Authority should go after that man and all the other people who have built in waterways. There are people.
Here's what I'm going to suggest to you, Kojo. Let's take our cameras. It works.
Exactly. Yeah, sure.
You see what?
We'll do it.
Let's pepper them.
We'll do it because look,
take your cameras. Let's go there and do this. That you see, I've come to realize that's the only language our leaders understand. Or I should say our misleaders. That's the only language they understand. You put the spotlight on them. They feel uncomfortable. They are forced to do the right thing. That's the only language.
And just within the last 3 years, another space between Mpenton and in Chaban Junction, that's a Seko Junction, they filled another space on your left and they've put another structure like that there. That place, water collected there because it's between two hills. They filled it and they've built another structure. Ask yourself, when it rains, where will the water go? So we know what we're doing. We look on and create the problems. I'm happy they are doing this to someone and said that serves her right. Let's go after the big ones who have also constructed bigger structures in bigger waterways.
We have some, 3 minutes thereabouts. Let's look at some other stuff.
Now, Delhi guy, Dr. Bawumia proposes strategies to transform Africa. NDC boils over Haruna Muntaka and Azato Forcing takes over. Fresh charges for GPHA managers killers. Ofoswampo for Kwekubuahin to open defense. So that's it. I think that, so a bit on Dr. Bawumia's thing. Now, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has proposed 3 areas for African political and business leaders to prioritize in their quest to transform Africa into an economic powerhouse on the global stage. Delivering the keynote address at the maiden edition of the African Prosperity Dialogue, which is currently taking place at the Safari Valley Resort in the Eastern region, the Vice President counseled African business and political leaders to, as a matter of priority, make smart investment in critical infrastructure across the continent, unleash the productive capacity of the continent onto the world, while mobilizing finance and investment to bridge the infrastructural gap currently plaguing the continent. According to the Vice President, with the narrative about Africa for most part of the world sadly being about poverty, conflict, misgovernance, and then this one, misgovernance, corruption and underdevelopment, the time has come for Africa and Africans to define our own narrative, insisting, quote, we cannot allow poverty and underdevelopment to be the destiny of Africa, a continent so blessed with every natural resource, unimaginable oil, gas, minerals, and sunshine. It begs the question, when are we going to move from just talking to action?
Yeah. Or are we going to remain NATO? No action, talk only. The final newspaper now, very quickly. I find this a bit, so we've spoken about that committee proposing ways that government can save 83.5 billion Ghana cedis. Let me quickly get to that story. So a technical committee set up by government has made over 20 proposals comprising expenditure cuts and revenue generation measures that have the potential of yielding net savings of 83.5 billion Ghana cedis. The IBF holds the position that the proposals, that is the individual bondholders, are competent enough to urgently address the fiscal challenges and enable us to reach the desired 55% debt to GDP ratio target proposed to the IMF. So they talk about expenditure cut measures, cutting statutory funds to save 7 billion Ghana cedis, cutting ministers' MDAs off to save 6.5 billion Ghana cedis, reviewing free SHS to save 1 billion Ghana cedis. We're not spending so much, but we can still cut if possible. Revenue measures to save 104 million, then 3.6 billion from oil production, 5.6 billion from yet to be tapped oil fields. It goes on and on. Even 3.6 billion from fully enforcing VAT. All of those are there on page 2. But just to wrap, this is a heartwarming one. Alpha Lotto
gifts I was going to come to that.
50,000 Ghana cedis as government fails to reward him for winning under-20 Football World Cup. And I'm not just saying this administration, but the promise was made to him and was not fulfilled. No administration has fulfilled it. Alpha Lotto has stepped in to do something for him. I still think government can do something for him. Else, if we treat people who win laurels for our country like this, who would want to do anything for Ghana? Remember Ignatius, is it Gaza? Remember that lady? I think she was also a triple jumper or something of the sort.
Bisa?
Was it Bisa?
Bisa also won some gold for Ghana.
Because I think at a point she was...
Yeah, there was some controversy.
But Gaza left.
Okay.
He left and was competing for the Netherlands because that was where he had been based. And, you know, I felt so pained. He was injured. He had situations. You want others to use their money to take care of him, but for him to come and compete for your country.
Yeah.
And even sometimes calling these people, oh, I'm checking on you.
Yeah.
And you expect me to come and compete. So Alpha Lotto Limited, an operator in the lottery and games industry, has donated a cash amount of 50,000 cedis to FIFA Under-20 World Cup winning coach Celestete, popularly known as Bobo. Apart from the cash, the company donated some bags of rice, bottles of water, mackerel, and oil to support the coach. On October 17, 2009, 10-man Ghana beat Brazil 4-3 on penalties after there were no goals in 120 minutes of action. You all know it. Let me not bore you with the story, but that is it. And at least some respite coming to Bobo. The new Weekend Crusading Guide, Prioritize Investment in Smart Infrastructure, Veep urges African leaders at Kweu Summit. And Adum Group boss attributes feats to professionalism and hard work of staff. All of those are there. Those are the stories I have for you.
Chronicle says Muntaka strips mosquito, Fifi quieted naked, suspected killers of GPHA boss freed by court. Baumi advocate for smart investment in critical infrastructure. And I hope that whatever he has said, African leaders and business leaders in Africa will take it up and invest in these areas. Look, agriculture is booming, and I hope that we'll put more investment in there to ensure that we really, tap into the potential of agriculture to enhance the development of this continent. We have arable land. We just have to have business people and governments dedicating a lot of cash to it, and we're good to go. Rice, a lot of Ghanaians are eating rice. Let's push money there. Let government push incentives there, and we'll just be fine. Let's say hi to Mr. Vincent Blechi.
Okay.
He used to be the board. He's a former board chair for Hantama Royal Bank. He's watching us now. He says good morning to us.
And as always, I love your outfit. Who's the person behind this?
That's still Abby Trent.
Abby Trent.
Yeah. So check her out on Facebook. Solid girl. Abby Trent. Yeah.
Mine is Catherine Gordon.
Gordon. Yeah.
Of Catherine Garments. Though this is a wooden outfit, she actually did some work on it. So I'll credit her with the work that had to be done. But my blunt thoughts for you today will be titled, I should say, Ghana's Pharisaic Misleaders, heaping burdens upon the backs of the masses that they themselves cannot carry. Ghana's Pharisaic leaders or misleaders, heaping burdens upon the backs of the masses that they themselves cannot carry. Look forward to that one right after sports. And today, it's the second part of that interaction with former Black Stars coach Akwesi Appiah. Sports up next.
You didn't lead the Black Stars to a second tournament. That would have been in the 2015 AFCON.
It was unfortunate, but because by then we had built some young ones into the team, and they were playing as a team, and it was unfortunate. Maybe, hopefully, if we had continued,
you probably could have won the tournament.
You never know.
Hopefully, we would have gone there to win it. But within that window that you left the Black Stars, you went to Sudan. Tell us pretty quick, how was life like in Sudan?
The Sudanese actually had a program.
Yeah.
They wanted their team to be built.
Okay.
They gave me 2 years contract to try and build a team.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they had a under-20 squad. So what I started doing was to try and bring the under 20 players slowly into the first team.
Okay.
But later, we realized they were all doing very well, and even at the end of the tenure, they had about 9 players in their national team.
Oh wow!
Because it got to a level where the El Cartoon team, their style of play, was totally different from the other Sudanese clubs.
So, Coach, what is your style of play?
I don't actually believe in defending. I always believe in attacking whoever you might be.
And we saw it against Germany in the 2014 World Cup.
Yeah, I think if you look at our tactical play, I would say the German against the Germans now is the system that every team is playing now. Now if you set back, you are trying to defend, automatically you might get a go against you or two.
Go ahead.
But
so you prefer expansive kind of football?
Yeah, an attack. And then you all come back and defend if need be.
Thank you. At what point did you decide that you would come back to the Black Stars again? Because you came back in 2017. At what point? And what influenced that decision?
Yeah, actually, I was given a call, that the nation actually needs a coach. And I thought I had actually started something, trying to build, So I did put in my application.
Okay.
They invited me for interviews, and then I got the job.
Did you meet Kwesi Appiah in Addis Ababa? And what did he tell you?
In Addis Ababa.
Prior to your appointment as the head coach of the national team for the second time.
In Addis Ababa? No, I've never met Nandishi at Addis Ababa before.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Then there might have been some different story out there, because I do recall that there were stories of how you met Kwesi at a CAF event, some CAF event. I don't know if it was at the sidelines of it or prior to that. That was just before you came back as the coach of the Black Stars. You can't recall any meeting with him? Or you've had many meetings with him and you can't recall which one?
No. I'm beginning to remember. I actually
can't recall exactly.
Yeah, but I quite remember. But even that time, we actually couldn't talk because I remember we went to Addis Ababa for a meeting.
Yeah.
And that meeting, I remember meeting Mr. Anson. And
that was it. That was the meeting.
Yeah, but wasn't it she was not part?
The Black Stars conversation didn't come up?
Oh, as to
the Black Stars job, yes.
Yeah, we came up, but they said they were now thinking about going to have a meeting on it.
Okay.
So I said, oh, okay, that's fine. If they want me to come, I'm available, but if not,
you were open to anything.
Did
you feel when you came back, you did the job you thought you could do? Because you just mentioned that you thought you started something and you could continue from it. What it clearly meant is that you had an unfinished business, you were coming back to finish it. Did you finish it?
In actual fact, when I came back, I thought when Grant came, he did not actually continue what I was trying to do by inviting more players into the team. So when I came back, I had to try and bring a whole of, So saying that and actually, I think we lost about three matches.
Yeah.
We won about 10, 11 matches and 7 draws.
Yeah.
And so saying that, I thought we were in line.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, if you're building a national team and not a club, it takes time to introduce players, into the fold. So for me, it's about what do we have and what do we want to achieve, or how can we try and progress to a level where we have a standing strong team. That is what we should be looking out for.
And when you came back, there were many criticisms. And I recall in one of your press conferences at the Accra Sports Stadium, you said, a prophet is not pampered in this country.
Yeah, it's always been like that. I don't know how to put it, but
you feel you've always been criticized unfairly?
Oh, as a coach, you should not never expect that everybody will like whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is try and do the best that you can. And when it comes to national issues, the nation first. Do the best that you can. At the end of the day, when you are you are out there, people will look at what you did, and then so okay, when he came, at least he did this.
What is the biggest challenge coaching the Black Stars?
The biggest challenge has been the issue of selecting players to the national team. The problem is when you are not given a longer period, you're not given the time to build whatever you want to build. And it's a matter of just 2 years. Automatically, 2 years, you come out there just looking out for results. And all the white coaches that I've worked with, because we give them contract for 2 years, they come and they use whatever players we have assembled already, and use them to gain results and go away in 2 years' time.
So if you have to suggest to the FA, how many years should be good enough for a coach to build?
You see, when it comes to the national team, the least the national team coach should get is maybe 4 or 5 years. The reason being, if, for instance, you're not used to the players around and you are entirely new, it will take about a year or two to get to know the players, their mentality, their performance level, and how to integrate them. And then the other 2 years, you're looking at how you can get them to play tactically, for you. And
the final year, maybe to go and win.
Automatically, you can't think how you've been given 4 or 5 years and you can't win anything. Then it's not worth. It's not. Then you should never think of even coaching the national team again.
Then if you are offered 2 years contract, why can't you ask for more? Since you think that the 2 years is not good enough.
No, normally that's what they come out with. They dictate the pace.
But they dictate the pace, but it is you they are putting on the hot seat. So if they're putting you on the hot seat, you should tell them, you're just giving me 2 years. Make it 4 or 5. If it's not 4 or 5, then I can also decide that then I'll walk away, because you are setting a trap for me to come and, if I don't perform, you say I didn't perform.
Yeah, normally that's how it should be. And me, for instance, me now, if you ask me to take the national team, okay, for me, I have a stint with the team for some time, so I can know how to manage it. But I'm talking about someone who doesn't know anything in Ghana or
the environment.
That one, there's no excuse. But with someone who is in Ghana, automatically he knows some of the players. But even dealing with them,
it's a challenge.
It's a big issue, and you should have big balls or know how to, handle or manage, these top players who are coming from. As you said, normally you go out there and say, okay, if you don't give me 4 years, I'm going away.
5 years, I will not take the job, yeah.
But this is something that the FA also should have sat down to know, look, if we want things to go the proper way, then this is how we should tackle issues.
2019 AFCON. Prior to the 2019 AFCON, which was your first AFCON since returning? But I'll ask, but just before that, tell me about our failure to qualify for the 2018 World Cup. You had come in, Grand had started, first game draw, second game a defeat, then the rest of the matches were left to you. You played Congo, you drew, then you went away and you beat them. Was it 5-0? If my memory serves me right. But we went to play Uganda. We scored a goal. I remember when you threw your hands in the air after the referee decided that no, it was not a goal. How frustrating was it that we couldn't qualify to the 2018 World Cup?
It's always, especially when it comes to World Cup, you know, every game counts. You know, so if you play in a home game and you lose or you draw, it's not the best. You know, so automatically we did not start well. You know, we did not start well because we, as you said, we drew
against
one and lost.
Then we lost to Egypt in Cairo.
So, with that in mind, automatically it will be difficult to go through. But saying that if the game against Uganda, if the referee had allowed the goal, which everyone
thought was a goal.
You know, it was just unfortunate, you know, especially when you're going away, you know, and you get a win. It gives you the opportunity to fight on and make sure you qualify.
Okay, so prior to the 2019 AFCON, just a quick one, then we'll wrap up the conversation. Prior to the 2019 AFCON, there were stories surrounding Sule Muntari and Kelvin Prince Boateng. Was there a point that Dr. Kofi Amwa, who was the organization committee chairman, spoke to you about bringing back Sule Muntari to the team?
Yeah, he suggested that. But as I've said, me, once I have my team, nobody can change the team.
He threatened to sack you if you don't do well.
No, but I told him, I'm not afraid of being sacked. I mean, those threats, I've heard it several times, but I'm not the type that those threats scare me. No.
But why did he suggest Sule Muntari? What were the reasons he gave you?
No, he thought Sule and Kevin should be part of the team. But you see, meanwhile, you ask yourself, are these players that you're talking of, are they playing? And if they are playing, are they in top form that can compete at that level? You know, for me, they were very good players. You know, they were very, very good players. And especially Sule, anytime he's in the team, he gives out 100%. So, but you don't tell me, go and bring them as if I don't know what I'm doing. Or if you are better than the coach, then you should have been the coach and be coaching.
You felt disrespected by that?
Yeah?
Did you feel disrespected? You felt disrespected by that?
Yeah, I mean, the moment you try to stress that point more and more, then you're trying to tell me, I don't know my job.
Then the 2019 AFCON, well, you didn't call them. The conversation ended there, 2019. But I know he was working on renewing your contract, right? Did he have conversations with you in terms of renewing your contract?
He has a conversation with me. And he was thinking of reducing my salary. And I said, look, you can't reduce my salary. If you reduce my salary, then you should take
So what was the reason? What was the reason for telling that you wanted to reduce your salary? Is that you don't merit the $35,000 you were being paid or something?
I think that was his thinking. You see, when you try to do that, you disrespecting whoever, you know, and his pusher shows that, you know, he had no respect. You know, but at the end of the day, what you should be looking at is if another white guy came,
yeah, or
the one who was there, you were paying more than 58,000.
Yeah.
And why do you think? I said, because I'm Ghanaian, I don't deserve to get paid.
$35,000.
Yeah. And I even said, fine, me, I don't mind if we're giving some to my assistant.
Yeah.
But not to take it and then say, oh, we just reduced it. No. But if we are reducing it for my assistant, then I'll agree.
I see. The 2019 AFCON, Coach, we had high expectations. The permutations were that, oh, the last time we won with the AFCON, we won with the local coach, we were in Group C, we were in what. The permutations favor us. Then again, we get knocked out at the penalty stage.
It's unfortunate, but you see, we were on top of the group at the end of the rounds.
Yeah.
You know, and when you get to penalties, for me, you could be the best player in the whole, best team in the whole world.
Yeah.
And when it comes to penalties, you can.
Is it a lottery or it is science?
It's not science. It's just that, you see, a player could be very, very good. But when it comes to the time to go for the kick, it depends on your confidence level. You know, when your confidence level is not that high, automatically you go and the keeper will shake himself small and you will miss it. But you know, a confident player, you know, will always go out there, look at the keeper. If the keeper shakes himself, he also shakes himself.
Okay, so but before the tournament itself, there were many stories. Again, I'm coming back there. Why did you strip Asamoah Gyan of the Black Stars captaincy and made him general captain? Why?
No, because I thought he's captained the team for 8 years.
Yeah.
And for me, he's done more than enough for me and Ghana. And for me, even that tournament, that is the more reason why I took him.
You didn't want to take him?
No, I never decided not to take him.
Yeah.
Only he was having a lot of injuries from January to May. He was having a lot. So I said, if he's injured, then automatically I might not be able to take him. But if he's not injured, no matter his situation, I'll take him along, you know, for what he's done for Ghana, so that at the end of the day, if even after that, and he wants to resign, then that's fine.
So he released a statement, said that you called him saying you were taking the captaincy from him.
Yeah, I called him. So I respect him a lot, and that's the more reason why I called him. Look, I want to make you a general captain. Join me, and let's handle the team in such a way that, you know.
But he didn't take it lightly.
Yeah, he didn't agree. But you see, if you don't do what is right, and that's my belief, if you are not sincere to yourself and try say, oh, this is my son, this is my friend, this is my, automatically you will never get results, or you will not be successful in whatever you're doing. You know, so I thought, look, the day is the assistant to him.
Yeah.
Because the day has been in the team before. So if Jan is not there, then automatically it should be the day. And I should not say because this is my friend or this is my brother, so the right decision should not be taken.
No, but Coach, there are people who think that since you knew you were taking him to the AFCON, why not just take him there? If he doesn't place, Andre captains the team. So you could have gone to the tournament with him, let him be on the bench, Andre captains the team, we play. You could have avoided all this noise, quote unquote, that surrounded the team.
You see, I gave the captaincy to him at the time when we were going to Cup of Nations.
Yeah.
He was the captain. Okay, are you trying to tell me when we were going to the World Cup, I should have given the captaincy to Sole because he deserved to be the captain?
So in other words, you don't think he did anything wrong by deciding that he was not going to be the captain? Because
No,
people actually believe that it also affected the team in one way or the other. And over the years, there have been consistent stories that there's division in the team and all that. I was even going to ask you that question, whether you witnessed division within your playing body.
Yeah, those things have been there. But you see, me, I find it, I don't know whether it's my own thinking. I find it difficult when people have issues with captaincy. Is it about, I mean, when it comes to the national team, it's the national team. I'm wearing this jersey, the red, gold, green jersey, to represent Ghana. So, I mean, fine, you are made the captain. You are the captain. If I don't know what to say, but I don't believe captaincy should be issues when it comes to national team. And you see, you journalist guys, you make it look as if the captaincy is more important than the football itself. But we should be thinking about the nation first.
But the players also think along that line.
You see, you divert their minds. Because no,
coach, the players
they know. Okay, this is our captain. So it's irrelevant whether the person is a general captain or a captain or an ordinary player. If he gets on the pitch and he can perform to the highest level, that's all what you, as a journalist, that's what you want to expect from him. You know, but because, okay, for instance, let's say you have a team. This one will say, oh, because this one is captain, when I get the ball, I'll pass to him. Or I won't play to satisfy, to win, to make him, his captaincy, a good one.
You think that thing, it does not exist in the team?
It's been there, but you see, we need to diffuse the minds of all players. And for now, you should.
So did you try diffusing that in the minds of the players? Since you know that there's this division within the team, if this player gets the ball, he wants to pass to this player because he's his friend, or he doesn't want to give the ball to this player because this person is a captain. If he's a captain and we win, they will say he was the captain that we won. No,
we don't have that thing, but you guys are trying to infuse that in the minds of the players, and make them think that the captaincy is more important than playing for the nation. That's how you're making it look like. Because you see, for me, if you were a nation, it's good to be a captain, to be a leader. A leader who is directing all the players or encouraging all the players, on and off the pitch. Yeah. So irrespective of being made a captain or just an ordinary player, you should be looking at, okay, how best can we win? That's the most important thing that we should all be thinking about. This captainship should be even the last thing that people will think.
And what it means is that if then you can just give the armband to any player based on the match. If you think that leadership is not that important, because the players players, I've had the privilege of speaking to players, and sometimes they make the captaincy thing a bit huge.
You see, this is what I'm talking about. A captain is someone who actually, when we are in camp, for instance, the captains always make sure
he wants that respect given to him. That's why he's a captain. That's why they make
but
a big
that
deal
is
out of
there.
it.
That is there. But you see, it should not be seen as if, if I'm not being made the captain, I cannot play.
Okay. Because maybe I've had people tell me that Stephen Appiah was a different kind of a leader who never bothered whether they were meetings. Even when he was going for meetings, he made sure Kufuor was in the know, John Mensah, and then he was always discussing with them to go for the meetings. Maybe, as we said, maybe we have to find a way of diffusing the minds of the players that the armband is the most important thing. Yeah.
Because, as you said about Appiah, always you control the senior players. The senior players, they know themselves in the team, you know. But it's a matter of, okay, this one is the captain, but these are the senior players. Whenever we have a meeting or there's something that needs to be discussed, these guys, you know, they all meet, and these guys take control of them. You know, that has been there. That has been there even during my time. You know, but it's important that a captain should always be in the team, because a ship without a captain, always there will be problems.
Coach, let's wrap up the conversation. Let's just wrap up the conversation pretty quick. I don't know. In your recent interview, you stated that when you called up young players for our game against South Africa in the World Cup qualifiers, you were told that you were risking your job. But you knew what you were doing. Many people have actually said that one of your strong areas is your ability to spot talents for the national team. And why do you have so much confidence in young players?
See, all along, the nation was so over-dependent on some set of players. And that's how come we had a situation where players could come out and play for the nation again. You know, so all along my ambition has been trying to get a lot of young players to be behind those that we have at the moment. You know, so any team that is performing well, or any good team, is a team that has got a very good bench. And in our situation, because the national team, we don't keep calling them every week, but we get them once a while. Yeah. That's why we need to bring a lot of young guys to be behind those who are playing. You know, so that at any given time, when they are old or they can't, injuries or anything, you know, you can rely on the younger ones who are coming out. But if you don't start building them, then automatically, when the senior ones get old or get wiped off, then how you have to start building every time you'll be building again.
Yeah, I get it. I get it there. And in assembling these young players, you did it between 2012 and 2014. You did it again between 2017 and 2019. But in all that, you spoke about the time frame given to coaches, which not been enough. Do you feel that you've had an unfinished business with the Black Stars?
Oh, I think, you see, me, I always keep saying, once you are a coach, you are always a coach. If I sit here today and say, okay, I've resigned from coaching, then I'm not coaching I will not be coaching any team again. You know, once I've not come out and still coach, it's a matter of, do Ghanaians think that what I did before, or looking at the track records, they think they can get something out of me? Or I also think, okay, if given a chance, I can also bring something on board. And if they think it will help the nation in future, then so be it.
But based on your track record, is Akwesi Appiah available for the Black Stars coaching job?
Oh, once I have not stopped coaching, and the coaching opportunity comes, why not?
If Ketokreku calls you now and say, we want you to take over the Black Stars coaching job, will you take it?
Automatically there will be interviews or something. You can't just walk in to take
but he's a man. He's in charge of football now. He calls and say, Kwesi, I want you to come. You've coached the Black Stars all these years. I know you know the boys. They have that kind of respect for you. So I want you to come and take the team. Would you tell him, okay, get me a contract, I'll sign it? Will you tell him that?
Oh, automatically, as I said, I'm a coach, and if the nation wants me to play, automatically I'll play the role.
You will play a role in that? Okay, so I will sign out with two quick questions. And one of them would be, leaving the job in 2019, did you feel that the FA new leadership, which was led by Keto Kreku, did not respect you enough to ensure that you continued? Because many people have said that you were not allowed to continue because Keto Kreku, when he was executive committee member, had personally criticized you for inviting players without calling players believed to be associated with him. One of them was Benjamin Tete.
Oh, you see, Kurt has been my good friend, since London.
Oh, okay.
And I've never had any issues. But you see, all my coaching career, I don't like the issue of people trying to tell me what to do. Pick this player, people pick that player. I might pick the player, but it's up to the player to prove to Ghanaians, not to me, whether they deserve to be in the team. So the idea that the FA had issue of being kept, no, me, I don't have any issue with them. Only, I think my time was up. My contract was up to December. 2019 December, which it ended. And in January, he sent me a letter thanking me and saying the parting ways. At the end of the day, my contract has ended. So it's not like you still have a contract and you are being, it's being terminated. It wasn't like that.
There was one thing that I forgot to ask about your former assistant coaches, Masukunadu and Ibrahim Tanko. You replaced them along the line. Why? What happened?
You see, my intention, they were all good coaches. But you see, my intention was trying to bring a lot of coaches into the system. You see, people might not agree with me, but I also the view that one day, if I'm not around, we need to get coaches who had stayed with the national team. Most of our local coaches, they are very good coaches, but how we manage players on and off the pitch with the national team players is totally different. So I wanted a situation where more coaches will be associated with them, so that the nation will decide which of them, should.
So do you think your previous assistant coaches, any of them is in a position to be able to mind the Black Stars?
Yeah, I think some of them, all of them have learned something from.
Good morning once more. Welcome back on the AM show. And from sports, we get into other topical matters of national scope. I share with you my blunt thoughts for today, and I've titled it, Ghana's Pharisaic Misleaders, heaping burdens upon the backs of the masses that they themselves cannot carry. Ghana 4, I'm sure you recall or may have come across Jesus' tongue lashing of the teachers of the law and the Pharisees, aptly captured in Matthew 23 verse 4, where the Lord says, they tie up heavy, cumbersome loads and put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. That, dear friends and fellow citizens, is unfortunately the exact kind of misleadership we have on our hands in Ghana today. Only yesterday, I was reflecting on the words of the founder of Perez Chapel International, Bishop Charles Ajinasari, who says, quote, our money is failing, if it has not already failed, because our banks cannot even pay people's bonds, risk-free bonds. Why did he say this? The man of the cloth had a financial instrument of some 106,000 Ghana cedis in an institution which he decided to withdraw from. His bankers, however, told him this was impossible and that the only workable solution was for him to agree to a refund of 1,000 Ghana cedis of his investment each week until the bank's debt was fully paid off. That means 106 weeks, or alternatively, a whole 2 years before he can get his money back. And even that was the bank being charitable to him. How about the ordinary Kwame out there without the clout of Bishop Ajin Asari? How about him? They would definitely not get such a reprieve. This shows clearly just how Pharisaic our misleaders are to us, heaping burdens on our shoulders that they themselves refuse to carry. But this also reminds me of that story from the heady final days of the collapsing Marxist experiment in the Soviet Union. Paraphrasing from Soviet novelist Chingiz Aitmatov, the story reads, on one occasion, Joseph Stalin, called for a live chicken and proceeded to use it to make an unforgettable point before some of his henchmen. Forcefully clutching the chicken in one hand, he began with the other to systematically and brutally pluck out its feathers. As the chicken struggled in vain to escape, he continued with a painful denuding until the bird was completely stripped of its feathers. Now you watch, Stalin said, as he placed the chicken on the floor and walked away with some breadcrumbs in his hand. Incredibly, the fear-crazed chicken hobbled toward him and clung to the legs of his trousers. Stalin threw a few grains to the bird, and it began to follow him around the room. He turned to his dumbfounded colleagues and said quietly, "This is the way to rule these people. Did you see how that chicken followed me for food, though I had caused it such torture? People are like that chicken. If you inflict inordinate pain on them, they will follow you for food for the rest of their lives." My dear friends, I hesitate to say this, but say it I will. You do know chickens are often used in reference to cowards, right? I dare say most of us Ghanaians, by sitting down with our arms folded while our political misleaders dribble us in this perverse manner, while they pluck away at our very dreams, is very chicken-like. Most of us are chickens, cowards indeed. Our country is both broke and broken, yet many of us still stand aloof, either owing to blind political affiliation or self-interest. How can we be like this and expect better leaders who will usher us into real prosperity, that land of promise flowing with milk and honey? If you want to know just how callous, how Stalin-like our leaders are, you should take a good look at the latest Auditor General's report. Even with all that report's challenges here and there, it still depicts the endless, horrifying looting of our state coffers by political actors. Come with me for a second. Let's look at COVID-19 vaccine procurement, a la what the Auditor General has been telling us. In millions of American dollars, the amount paid to UNICEF and Avast summed up to $120.19 million. The amount utilized, $38.32. The deficit, $81.87 million. And we're still grappling with it, and they are telling us we don't have enough storage and all kinds of stuff. Story time. Special audit report on COVID-19 expenditure. Now, looking at the amount mobilized in 2020 in billions of cedis, the Finance Ministry tells us they mobilized 18.19 billion. But guess what? The Auditor General tells us, actually, we mobilized 19.11 billion, and he's not even taking stock of some of what we accrued. You will find out in ensuing slides. About 3 of the major fund sources are not added by the Auditor General. Even this gives you almost 1 billion extra in cedis. Who is hiding what? The next slide, COVID-19 funding sources, Finance Ministry versus the Auditor General. So you see that here, the Finance Ministry has 9 sources from the Contingency Fund, World Bank, IMF, AFDB, European Union, the sale of BOG COVID-19 bonds for the 2020, 2021, and 2022 fiscal years. And then Korea, Germany, and the government of Ghana also contributed their quota. Guess what? That was not even part of the Auditor General's report. So 3 items were missing. And even with those 3 items missing, we still have a deficit of about 1 billion Ghana cedis. Let's go to the next slide. So look at the breakdown. Now look at Korea, Germany, and the rest. Look at what they contributed. 349 million, 280.99 million. The Bank of Ghana alone, 10 billion. You sum it all up and you get 25.68 billion. Much more than the about 21 billion that we were told was accrued. And then you look at the utilization of the contingency fund. 1.2 billion went into payment of allowances to frontline health workers, supply of food items, free water and electricity. We all know the story to that. Evacuation of Ghanaians, support for small and medium-scale enterprises. We know the story to that as well. Purchase of various medical supplies. We know the story to that as well. Cost of mandatory quarantine of Ghanaians stranded abroad and all that. You look at the utilization of BOG COVID-19 bonds, some 10 billion Ghana cedis, and the receipts were expended on liability management, statutory payments to SNIT and the GET Fund, and budgetary support. Yet we are still paying the COVID-19 levy. Then the utilization of the IMF Rapid Credit Facility. The amount received was utilized on, again, liability management, district assemblies, NAPCO, LEAP, free SHS, free water and electricity, capitalization of the National Development Bank, construction of 88 district hospitals, issuance of Ghana cards, mop-up exercise across the country. Was this what it was supposed to be expended on anyway? I mean, some of them fit the bill, but others, you judge for yourselves. And then again, the World Bank's funds, the interventions, 430 million, medical equipment, cleaning materials, medicine, consultancy, storage facilities. We all know, so we're talking about storage facilities, yet we can't even take enough vaccines. Life insurance, construction, leasing and renting of treatment and isolation centers. But this, it gets even interesting here. You've also seen that there was a development with an ambulance, or ambulances that were supposed to be procured. What we paid, $607,419, paid out of over $4 million in a contract for the supply of 26 Toyota Hayes Deluxe ambulances. Again, we couldn't even determine what our specifications were. The timelines, the contract was signed on 5th December 2021. The ambulances were to be delivered by 15th January 2022. The ambulances can't be found. No ambulances were delivered as of the 28th of November 2022. You look at the payment of unapproved risk allowances. This was on the blind side of the Chief of Staff, by the way. So the Ministry of Information paid themselves a total amount of 151,500 Ghana cedis as COVID-19 risk allowance. Who actually subscribed to that? So you see, you are drinking, eating, rolling, sleeping, and waking up in mismanagement and corruption. Yet you are busily and freely giving financial haircuts to ordinary Ghanaians while you people line your pockets with our money. How wicked can you be? It even irks me more when we talk about painfully glaring problems in this country and people supposed to be leaders act as though we had no right to hold their feet to the fire of accountability. You've heard undoubtedly about the Pandai district in the northern region and many other parts of the country where pupils study without desks and even sometimes under trees, right? You've heard of those 8 pupils who lost their lives very recently when their canoe capsized on the Volta Lake, haven't you? Before I wrap on that and conclude on my thoughts for today, let me bring you some information tied to our educational system in Ghana. Our Human Capital Index, according to the World Bank, the index measures how much capital each country loses through lack of education and health. It also measures the amount of human capital that a child born today can expect to attain by age 18, given the risks of poor health and education that prevail in the country where he or she lives. It also ranges between 0 and 1, with 1 meaning maximum potential reached. With those parameters clarified, let's look at how Ghana has been performing. 2018, we scored 0.44 or 44%, meaning only 44% of children born in Ghana at that time would become productive when they grew up. We ranked 116th out of 157 countries. 56% of Ghana's human capital will go waste in the next 18 years because of the poor quality of the country's educational system. The same system, Yao Osei Duchum, education minister, says is famous. 2020, we scored 0.45%, just about 0.001% in addition, or 45% if you want to roll it over. Only 45% of children born in Ghana at the time would become productive when they grow up. 55% of Ghana's human capital would then go waste in the next 18 years. Look at this. When you look at the harmonized test scores, Ghana scored 307 in the harmonized test scores. It measures how much children learn in school based on the country's relative performance on the International Student Achievement Test. But guess what? The very minimum is 300. And advanced attainment is 625. We were just a shade, a hair above the minimum. That is where we are. So let's not kid ourselves at all. We are not in a good state. There is this African proverb that poignantly says, the sheep will spend its entire life fearing the wolf, only to be eaten by the shepherd. A typical case of our leaders for you. We were sick and tired of wearing the shackles of colonialism, and thanks to Nkrumah, we were able to shake them off. But after Nkrumah, those who came would plunder us like we see in its worst form now, worse than even the imperialists. What a Pyrrhic victory. We won, yet our losses since then have been so heavy that they outweigh the victory we achieved. Our leaders have made complete nonsense of our so-called independence, which is why I am on a crusade for us to cut the piffle, the nonsense of Independence Day celebrations, and rather invest those sums of money, like we would in Pandai, which would honorably simply end up in people's pockets anyway, for shady contracts. We should divert that to other projects like providing desks for school children in the Pandai district of the northern region, and many other parts of our country where our little ones, the most vulnerable in society, whom we should be protecting at all costs, crawl on the bare floor like lizards just to study. What country does this to its own? And yet, when we speak of this, the education minister gets offended and goes on ranting about my media organization. Such leaders can go to hell for all I care. If you are not living up to expectation and get called out, you do what must be done rather than blame the one who has exposed your inefficiencies. Our education minister has become the complainer in chief on everything education. Yet what has he really brought to bear that has fundamentally transformed our pedagogy and the bettering of our learning systems since he took over? I'm not saying he has done nothing. No. I speak specifically in terms of pedagogy and what real quality we are delivering. The sector minister cries more than even those bereaved, and he expects us to clap for him? No way. That's not how we do it. You were not out at post to lament, but to solve problems. Finito. We shall rather take him to task today, tomorrow, and the day after that, whether he finds it distasteful or not. We are not here to please anybody. Our work is not that of praise or praise-mongering. We are here to ensure every Ghanaian gets the best possible deal from these misleaders who pretend to be diligent leaders. So, Mr. Education Minister, hey, you're too fuatie, naja ekutiano. Such arrant arrogance in leadership is what has led us to this vile shame, not fame. It is such a shame. In the days of old, we were perplexed about the colonialist wolves, but now it is the so-called nationalist shepherds that are destroying our lives. Imagine that. Sad. So darn sad. But Ghana, our Ghana, the land of the warrior king, will arise again from the rubble. The stump shall again bear a tree. Our resilience with God's unfailing help will see us through. We shall someday make Ghana, our motherland, truly great and strong. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I say all these because I am an extremely passionate Ghanaian, passionate about Ama Ghana and what her future, intricately tied to ours, holds. These are my blunt thoughts served for you raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. God richly bless our motherland and make her great and strong.
The new leadership of our minority caucus has called on us today to have a conversation with us regarding the way forward, because the minority group in parliament represents a very important wing of the party. We appreciate that the work ahead is going to require a lot of input coming from them. And of course, they understand that as a wing of the party, they need to work very closely with the leadership of the party to ensure that we can deliver the aspirations of our people, and especially being able to do what Ghana requires of us, which is to work towards taking out of power the most abysmal, the most incompetent, the most corrupt government in the history of our country. And so we've had a beautiful conversation with them. We've also signaled to them that early next week, on Tuesday, we'll be having a broader conversation with the caucus as a whole. And that conversation is one that would basically confirm the decisions that have been taken in terms of explaining the way forward, for us as a party, and the best way to be able to make sure we deliver the mandate that has been given to us, a mandate that will ensure the well-being of the people of Ghana come election 2024. So basically, this has been the conversation that we've had. We want to thank you for your presence. We want to use the opportunity to salute all our teaming supporters all over the country, thanking them for the continued show of solidarity and support. The fact that they know that in every step of the way, the leadership of the NDC is concerned about the well-being of the party, And that well-being of the party continues to be our major drive, and we will never relent on our effort to make sure that the party remains supreme, and the well-being and the interests of the millions of our supporters, and the well-being of Ghana, for that matter, continue to be secure. Thank you very much.
Well, there we are. We're going back to the NDC and that reshuffle, parliamentary reshuffle that it has engaged in. Today, we cap it all off. We know that there's a caucus within the party that is not supportive of what has happened. We also know that in some places in Tamale and in Asawase, in the northern region, and again in the Ashanti region, there have been issues with some party supporters. We've heard from the leadership of the party. You heard them saying that, no, we're sticking to our guns. This is the best decision for the party. But some others, like former Minority Leader Cletus Avoka, is not in favor of this. He feels some processes ought to be followed. Where do we go from here? Before I announce the guests who join us this morning, we also have, I wish we could see her entire outfit, Bernice Abubeidu.
Good morning. How are you doing?
What you see, the part you see on top is nice, but if you see the rest of the, but we'll take pictures and post them on social media so you can see. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. At least I don't have silk pressed hair woven this morning, but you know I don't have that much hair in the first place. But
anyway,
good to have you, Bernice.
Yeah. That was a fierce one on Blunt Thoughts, and I'm sure that for those of you watching and listening, you felt the passion in Benjamin's Blunt Thoughts today, and I think that it's something that we all need to look at and help our country get better by the day. Obviously, we know we can't solve our problems with a snap of a finger,
nope.
But if we are on course to solving them, if there is real progress, then everybody will see that, yes, I mean, we are getting somewhere. So you can share his Blunt Thoughts, get him on Facebook, on YouTube, so that it gets to those who must hear it for change to happen.
I hope the education minister watched me. I started announcing from yesterday. I hope he did.
Dr. Iduchu, I hope he did as well. But the thing is that we are told by Kwesi Appiah, who was here yesterday in the morning, much later in the day, he said there was going to be some deployment of furniture for the students in Pantai, 7,000 for the pupils, 7,000 of them by next week. So we will be following, and once it happens, trust us, we will let you know. Because we are not in here to attack anybody's personality or, you know, like some of you think, witch hunt people. We are here because the people, the underserved, the vulnerable need a voice.
And in the end, when we aired this documentary, that was the whole idea. Highlight it so something can be done
about it.
For them.
Definitely.
We'll be going to the Western region as well. Kojo was telling me this morning there's this community with a serious problem. We'll be going to hammer on that as well. Whoever is in that sector can feel aggrieved. We'll do it for the people of Ghana.
Exactly.
So something good will come to them.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's get into our conversation.
Definitely.
We have joining us for this conversation Professor Kwabena Safo-Kantanka. He's a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. He joins us for this conversation. We also have Dr. Akwesi Appiah, a political scientist at the KNUST, together with Kweku Asante, our parliamentary affairs correspondent. So we'll start the conversation off, Bernice, with Professor Kwabena Safo-Kantanka, a lecturer. He's also one who delves into parliamentary issues. Prof, a very good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
It's a pleasure having you. Bernice and I here, we're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty when it comes to this NDC reshuffle. But I'd like to find out from you, since we've not heard from you yet, what is your take following on what has happened from day one? The announcement came till now, when we've had a few scuffles here and there in Tamale, in Asawase. We've heard from the different caucuses among the minority group, those for, those against. We've heard from Dr. Kasiela Tuforsen. What do you make of everything we've seen thus far?
Well, I think that in summary, in a word or a sentence, I would say that maybe there was that lack of consensus building in the new appointments and the removal of the outgoing leadership of the minority. I think in this discussion, we need to put certain things in perspective so that we can understand clearly where the issues are. If you're looking at the work of the opposition in parliament, you are looking at a number of things. You are looking at holding the government into account, and therefore, if the government puts forward any policies, you should be able to give alternatives. Apart from that, what it means is that you need a leadership where the leader himself, the leader of the opposition, must have certain qualities as well. The ability to communicate, the personal factor, the personal quality of, say, honesty, authenticity, where people actually respect that person to the extent that if the person says, let's sit down, we sit down, says, let's go, we go. Because if you're looking at leadership, you are looking at moving people into action. So if I look at everything that has gone on, it will appear to me that the major decision was based on the issue of policy. So, for example, the national chairman of the NDC has said that, well, the next elections will be fought on the economy, infrastructure, and then energy. And therefore, it was their attempt to put forward their best foot. That is, somebody who is into the economy.
Do you agree with that line of thinking?
Sorry?
Do you agree with that line of thinking?
Yeah, that's what I'm developing the argument. Okay, so 3 areas, and they appointed people who are in these areas so that they can lead the charge. That is the point they have made. But it will appear to me also that that is not enough, because we may have the policy, all right, the person may be intelligent, can be all that, can know all that there is about the economy, about infrastructure and all that. But the other question you need to ask is whether that person has the leadership skill to be able to move the other members of parliament into action. So that, for example, it is a shadow cabinet, right? We are talking about the opposition in parliament, the minority. You are talking about what we call a shadow cabinet. And that shadow cabinet is led by the minority leader. And if you have that, it means the minority leader should have that kind of quality where he can or she can say that, okay, today we are going to talk about this. MPA, this is what you are supposed to do. To the extent that whenever he speaks or she speaks, the people, the other members of parliament are ready to follow. So this is where maybe there will be some problem that the NDC may be facing in parliament. When if you listen to the arguments and the counter arguments and the issues being raised by several members of the NDC, it appears that there wasn't that kind of consensus building. And therefore, what I foresee is that Ato Forsen, as a leader of the opposition, may find some difficulties leading the NDC members of parliament, because there are complaints. Some members of parliament support him, others don't support him.
Right.
And therefore, at a point in time, if you say that members of the NDC parliament, let us do A, B, C, D, are they ready to listen to you? Are they ready to follow? And that can be the biggest blunder, the biggest problem for the party. Because if you are going to fight an election in 2024, you need to bring everybody on board. But when people are not ready to come on board, then that's a problem.
So quick intervention. We know that, before the 2016 elections, something similar happened with the MPP, not necessarily in parliament, but they also had their own reshuffles in terms of the party, and yes, even in parliament. And look at how it worked out for them. They were able to finally capture power after 3 attempts of now President Akufo-Addo. So if you say that this necessarily may create splinter groupings in their caucus in parliament, we don't have any guarantees that would happen. It could happen. It could also not happen. And we've seen this happen time and again. The only difference being that this is happening midstream. What do you say to that?
Yes, it could happen. I like that expression. I didn't say it's going to automatically happen. That may happen. But you see, you don't create the opportunity for some.
It appears the connection to Professor Safo Kantanka has...
like that to happen. Yes, if in 2016 or previous, sometimes, you see, it is obvious that if you ask anybody who is likely to lead this group, everybody will mention one person. And therefore, if you appoint that person, it's not going to raise any eyebrows. But this time around, the person you are bringing on board appears to have some others who don't support him, and others do support. And therefore, you should have ironed that out before even the announcement. And
okay, so in other words, just to conclude on this before Bernice comes in, it means the NDC, from where you sit, could have handled this better.
I think so. I obviously think so.
Okay.
Let me bring in Dr. Akwesi Appiah into the conversation. Good morning to you, Doc.
It has been handled better than it has been handled.
All right, I'm told that there's a bit of a problem with Dr. Akwesi Appiah's line. We'll try and rework it there. So, for you, Professor Kantanka, the party now finds itself in quite a disturbing situation. In Parliament, the majority of the members there say, we are not interested in this. And the majority of the minority members we've spoken to say, they're not interested in this. They want further engagement. Some argue that Dr. Kasia Latuforsin shouldn't have had that press conference because until Parliament reconvenes, they cannot consider him as their new leader. So what does the party do now? Because clearly this spells a lot of trouble for them going forward when Parliament reconvenes.
There's a problem. They still have to solve the problem and resolve it. There's no option than to resolve the problem so that it can calm down nerves. Re-engaging with members of Parliament, of the NDC, re-engaging with the elite groups in the party so that people will calm down and be ready to go along with the decision of the leadership. Of course, you see, this is an albatross around the neck of the leadership now because it will be very suicidal to say you are withdrawing even the decision you've made. Because if you go back and say, okay, we are no more going to implement the decision, it raises a lot of questions about your leadership style, what you're going to do and how people are going to take you, whether people are going to take you seriously and all that. It will be an indictment on the leadership. And so I think that going forward, it is about bringing back the people who matter so that discussions will be held, engagements will be held, so that it will build consensus, so that it can seek the support of the outgoing leadership. That is very crucial because if you have a minority leader who has been there all this while, he by all means has a grouping. He has supporters. Haruna Idrisu will have those who support him. Taka has those who support him and all that. How do you bring all these people back together? It is about re-engagement. And I think that my advice to the leadership of the party will be to begin the engagement with people who matter so that they can find a common ground where they can all rally support for the leadership of the NDC in Parliament.
Right, Prof, talking about the party in a tight corner, unable to rescind this decision, Benjamin, I don't know if you realized there was a supposed letter signed by Fifi Kwete saying that there's a temporary rescission of notice on charges of changes on the leadership of the party in Parliament, and that is fake. So there are people who are trying to take advantage of the situation
to try to muddy the waters even further.
Even further by putting out some of these things.
We saw that situation as well with Haruna Idrisu, supposedly posting on Twitter, Facebook, and the rest.
Yes.
And he came out to say that I don't even own accounts.
So that's not
treats
me.
That with
exactly. So let me bring in Dr. Appiah. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Great to reconnect with you. So there are those who would obviously be excited about what is happening within the NDC because it is to their advantage. What does the party do at this point? Looking forward to election 2024, there are some who have said that this was a subtle communication to the people of Ghana, that the party is a stronger side, can take the hard decisions when it comes to making changes in political leadership, because there have been a lot of calls for President Akufo-Addo to do same, but he said he doesn't find any reason to do it. So the pros and cons. There are those who are saying that clearly this is a party that is not as democratic as it wants us to think because it took this decision without necessarily consulting A, B, C, D. So what are the pros and cons for the NDC with regards to this decision and its impact on election 2024 and what is lingering on the minds of many Ghanaians?
Thank you very much. And let me say good morning to Prof. and to your cherished viewers. Politics essentially revolves around decision making at all times, and then implementation of these decisions. And generally, if you look at countries that have made it lately, they have been captured in the literature as countries, if you like, their leadership have been captured as modern state builders. You know, the ability to transform their societies revolve around their ability to take strong, tough, relatively unpopular decisions, but decisions they felt were good for society, and then they went ahead to, you know, get these decisions implemented. But then those people did something. They formed coalition in the state. They formed coalition. They brought together interested actors and drew their attention to the interest they should be having in the policy they tend to implement. So you want then this leadership to do the same, assuming they're taking this decision with a clear understanding that it is the best decision for the party at this material moment in time. Then, obviously, there should be, you know, areas of interest. Politics is also driven by interest. There should be areas of interest, particular individuals who have, you know, vested interest in the status quo. And then you are bringing change, and change always comes with reprisal. So I think they could build coalitions, you know, before coming forward on the quiet. It didn't have to involve everybody. I've read something purportedly put out by Honorable Muntaka to the extent that, you know, I mean, the leadership claims that some people talked to him and that nobody did come to him. Definitely, he's an interested actor in this case, and it's really suicidal not to engage him before going public with it. So, generally, you see, there are some challenges with this development. You want a specific direct one on one pros and cons. The pros are, you know, strong demonstration of strong leadership, readiness for change, and for that matter, a transformation and possibly development. But then it did go with some challenges. Exactly what does the party constitution say on issues of this nature? And then democratic politics also involves consensus building, engaging as many as possible interested actors in decision making that affect them. So I think this over here we have some deficits there.
Interesting. So, I mean, the party leadership, fairly a new one. There are those who have also suggested that this is to, and even though we don't openly say it, people know who they can work with in terms of facilitating the party's agenda and ensuring that the party is in sync with the leadership of the minority and vice versa. So what should happen moving forward? I mean, we've posed this question to a lot of people, but for you, what should the next major step be in order to ensure that this seeming division that appears to be widening is dealt with as soon as possible?
Well, I think the position taken by some NDC MPs, you know, that the decision be rescinded and stuff like that is an interesting decision, because I expect all of them to have one core interest, that the NDC wins the next election. I think Honorable Haruna would like to see himself as a Minister of State in one or another capacity, and so do I expect Honorable Muntaka and their supporters. You want to see the party in government. Because of that, you know, they should all come together to find a solution to this. But definitely they shouldn't expect the leadership to withdraw the decision they have taken. We need to go in for accommodation, and the leadership to find a way, you know, to get that done. Definitely. Politics involves conflict. So this is, in a way, it could have been avoided. But then once it has come the way it has come, then it is up to them. The challenge is to be able to, come out with institutions, structures, mechanisms to address this problem. And it should be possible for the party to surmount it.
Well, getting into those same issues, as I posed the question to Prof as well, it appears some would say there's a storm brewing over the NDC. When you look at all that has happened, weighing the pros and the cons, where do you think the NDC finds itself now? I mean, what's the way forward? Do they rescind the decision that has been adopted? Do they stick to their guns as the party is clearly doing? What do you think ought to be the very next step that ought to be taken?
I use the expression an albatross around the neck of the leadership. You see, it is a very crucial and very delicate one. If you rescind a decision, it speaks volumes, perhaps negatively, about your leadership style and the kind of leadership you have in the party. It can lead to disrespect for the leadership within the party. And so I would normally advise that they engage with all the members of parliament, speak with the former leader, the chief whip, and all those who have been removed from positions of leadership. That engagement will be very crucial so that they can bring them on board, have some kind of consensus building going forward so that they can rally behind the new leadership. Because, you see, whatever you do right now, if you rescind the decision, you would have already created that kind of enmity between some groups of MPs in Ghana's parliament or the opposition members, so that somebody will think that, well, all this, what that person was eyeing my position, when they even gave it to him, he should have said no and all that. So for me, I wouldn't recommend taking back that decision or rescinding the decision, but actually engaging with them, having very serious discussions, bringing all people who matter, all the interest groups, the elite groups, bring them together, and then, yes, people will express their misgivings and all that, but at the end of the day, you have a common goal, and that common goal is to restore power from the government of the day. So how do we achieve this? It is all about coming together as one group, speaking with one voice in parliament. A parliamentary group is a very important group if you are going to win elections in 2024. So anything that will divide them must be avoided. And unfortunately, that is where we are heading towards now. We're almost already there. But I think that there's something that can be done. If the leadership of the NDC doesn't feel so big in their shoes and can go back and say, hey, we agree, maybe we should have gone ahead with a lot more engagement. When we spoke with you, we thought that a decision had been taken and we were going to go ahead with our decision and all that. We apologize, but we still think that there's something that can be done. That kind of conversation maybe will augur well for them to bring back everybody on board so that they can have a common front. They can have a very strong opposition in parliament. Otherwise, if people decide not to contribute that much as they have been doing over the years, so that you have a very strong opposition in parliament, it is not going to augur well for the party. Because you see, when you remove people from positions of leadership, like the minority leader having been removed, the chief whip having been removed and all that, if engagements were not done, it will appear as though it's an indictment on their leadership. In other words, there was something that we can describe as a crucial lack of something in their leadership. What is that crucial lack? You are telling the whole world that they were not performing, or there was something they were supposed to do that they didn't do.
But is it necessarily so? Is it necessarily so? Because we've had...
No, not necessarily so. But actually, that is the assumption. The assumption is that you are saying that we are going forward. We need a change in leadership. If it's not cracked, why do you fix it? If it's not broken, do you fix it? So the implied meaning is that something was broken and we wanted to fix it. And if it was broken and you have removed me, it means that I was in charge and I was responsible for that kind of break or breaking of the leadership role, in the leadership role and all that. So this is where it's an unspoken meaning of what you have done. And that is more important than the spoken words of the leadership. And that is the crucial thing you have to look at. Because Haruna Idrisu may feel indicted. Mutaka may feel indicted. And that is the more reason you needed to engage with them so that they can understand. And by this time, they would have said that, well, we all agreed that we needed to give a new face to the leadership in parliament. And they wouldn't have gone around saying that it was a coup d'etat, people describing it in all kinds of terms. The moment that kind of expression comes from those you have removed, it means that they are not happy. Okay, so no matter how you massage it, they will feel that it's a spite in the face.
Okay.
So that is the kind of challenge you have now. And to go back and resolve that kind of challenge, you need to sit them down, bring them back on board. After all, the NDC has a lot more respectable members, people who can come on board and speak with all those concerned so they can find a common ground and they can move forward. After all, when mistakes are made, you need to fix them.
Right.
And if you already made the mistake, there are ways you can resolve them. And I think it is better to
Okay, Prof. Thanks for that submission. I just have a question for both of you, very briefly, if you can, so we progress with this. Coming to you, Doc, I'd like to find out how, if any, does this affect the NDC's thrust for the Jubilee House in 2024? What is your reading?
NDC currently, is in a crucial position. It could resolve this in a way that will strengthen the party, that will enable the party to move on, having learned great lessons about how much power should be ceded to the leadership at the offices of the party, and how the relationship between them and the members of parliament should be. But generally, how crucial decisions should be taken. So if they are able to successfully, summon this challenge, then the party would have become strengthened, to move on and behave this way. I mean, they will all have trust and confidence in future decisions, that will be made. But then if they don't really find a way to address this successfully, then obvious, they move on to divide their ranks. And then if the division, take the form of regionalism, and other fault lines that are always in organizations and groups, given the fact that individuals are distinctly unique and different one from the other. We form groups, coalitions. Currently, we have some members of parliament aligning themselves to the affected leaders and standing as one, and attempting to engage the leaders to, if you like, rescind their decision. So they should be able to move on. Generally speaking, in the literature, this information, the understanding is that organizations and even states become stronger if they are able to come out with mechanisms to summon challenges that come their way. And that is how organizations learn. That is how states learn. The NDC is in a position to learn, and I think it should be able to do that.
For you, Prof, if you're back. Do we have Professor Safo Kantanka?
Yes, hello. Yes, I think that, it's already happened and it has to be resolved. And so,
Sorry, we seem to have a challenge with Professor Kantanker's line there. We'll try to see if it's better to raise him on phone. Let's go to Dr. Amakye Boateng now. Doc, so there are those who've tried to pull in the former President John Dramani Mahama into all of this. We've seen write-ups, purported statements that have been denied and declared as fake. But generally, how do you think this entire process or this entire situation affects him, or does it not?
You realize that I said earlier on that politics is driven by interest. He's not the only person who would like to lead the party come election 2024. So obviously he has got rivals in the party who want to take advantage of a situation like this. If it should affect him, it will have to be his demeanor. It will have to be the way the people who speak for him conduct themselves. I think he will want to stay away completely from this issue, because at this time we take it for granted that it's emanating from the party's leadership. And once the party is not in power, it's not in government, definitely he's not, the leader of the party. So ordinarily, he should simply stay away from it and keep his cool, so that he doesn't become, if you like, involved unnecessarily.
For you, Doc, I'd like to find out, back to that very question I posed about what impact this could have on the NDC's fortunes moving forward. How does this then, in reverse, how does it play into the hands of the ruling administration? They are trying to break the 8, and you would also notice with the conversation on social media, we saw Owusu Bempah's staffer say that this is going to wreck the parliamentary front of the NDC in Parliament, and so many things have been said. What is your take on that? How does it play into their hands, and are they making the most of this political capital?
At this time, I think it is too early to suggest that it's played into their hands or it's playing into their hands.
But of course, if there's any semblance of disunity, that plays into their hands.
A semblance of disunity, but then the key issue is how they are able to resolve it. The key issue is how they are able to resolve it. And then that will also stand for the strength of the party's ability to summon crucial, critical challenges that come up. So, if you like, people, at this time, I think we need to keep our fingers crossed and see how the whole thing unfolds. The party's ability to come out with, ways to address this issue is what will really determine whether it plays into the hands of their political opponents or not. The crucial challenge that the MPP faces is the economy. When people have their salaries buying absolutely nothing, they will not clap for them. These challenges in the NDC will not take away the economic difficulties in the country. The government is trying in vain to rope in individual bonds and stuff like that. The challenges in the NDC today is not going to simply take these issues away. So they have a very critical, a major difficulty to confront. The ability to tell Ghanaians that they didn't deploy their best hands in Nanado's government, and that they have still got some people in the party who have some sort of magic wand to turn the fortunes of the country around. They are going to have great challenges telling Ghanaians this thing. So I don't think they will want to see what is happening in the NDC as anything that they could rejoice over. No. The NDC definitely. Let's look at this issue. I can't imagine how Haruna Idrisu, for example, Muntaka, for example, stretching this issue to a point where the fortunes of the NDC in 2024 elections will be affected. Because why is Haruna in politics? He would like to be in government. Why is Muntaka in politics? He would like to be in government. They are teaming supporters. Why do they, throw their support behind them and rally behind them, move in and out? People are ready to even sacrifice their life. Are they just interested in doing that? No. They want to have a fair share of the national cake, and they think they will achieve this with their leaders in government. So this crucial interest that all of them have in common is what is going to enable them, all of them, to find an amicable solution to this. It is not playing into the hands of the MPP.
Let me bring back Professor Safo Kantanka. Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good to have you back on the line. Especially as you study, you're a researcher of political or parliamentary affairs. I'd like to run these two questions by you. First of all, looking at what has transpired in Tamale and Asawase, of course, we know that maybe the former minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, we can call him former now, depending on how things go, and the former chief whip, Muntaka, may contest again. But could there be, even beyond their seats, could there be likely losses for the NDC based on these reactions that we've seen from ordinary voters? That's the first question. And secondly, looking at the Speaker of Parliament, he also finds himself in a bit of a tricky spot. He's had his own confrontations with Muntaka, for example. And now there is that caucus, the leadership of the NDC, calling on him, Dr. Kasialato Forson, calling on him to follow through on what the party has determined. How do you reflect on these two issues, starting with the constituencies?
Well, the constituency issue, for me, you expect these things in politics. People have their interests. They have their supporters. I would have been surprised if there wasn't any reaction from Haruna Idrisu's constituency, where his people support him so much, and therefore they will express concerns about the removal of him. There wasn't anything like that. But for me, I don't think it's going to play out that critically to the extent that it's going to affect the party in terms of voting patterns and all that. I can foresee that, but of course it's possible anyway. It is possible because sometimes also...
I mean, the Ashanti region already is a place that the NDC usually would struggle for, 4, 5, 6 seats and all of that.
When people feel indicted, and yes, we can work for you to lose your position so that, or your election, so that you can go back and I can confidently say that, well, it is because you removed me. That shows my importance within the group and all that. That is a possibility, but it's a little bit remote, looking at the interest at stake in 2024. So yes, they can patch up the differences going forward. At least we have about 2 years to go. So they can easily patch up that. So I don't foresee that affecting the electoral fortunes that much. And I can also foresee that going forward, it is possible they will come back together. They can resolve this. I believe they can resolve it moving forward. So I don't see that as a huge political capital. And so that is why maybe I'll agree with my colleague on the my colleague there, that Doc, that whether the government in power, the NPP shouldn't be happy, so much excited about this, because how far can we go along with this? How far is it going to go to affect the fortunes of the NDC in 2024? Right. I don't think that should be the focus. The focus of the NPP should be about working hard, doing the things Ghanaians want to see, saying the things Ghanaians want to hear, and then governing as they want to see. I think that is more important. Of course, this is politics, so it is normal for people to take advantage of cracks in your opponent's side. Of course, your blunder is a positive gain for me all the time. If we are in opposition, if we don't agree, anytime you make a mistake, I take advantage of it. But I have to measure the extent to which I can gain from that kind of mistake from you. So if I rely on that much, I may be disappointed. So I don't think it's a huge political capital for the NPP. But of course, they will do something about it. They will try to take advantage of it. It is part of the politics. But as I said, we should be measured in the way we want to take advantage of what is happening. Now, in terms of the Speaker of Parliament,
right,
of course, you rightly put it. He finds himself in a certain situation. You see, people are reading all kinds of meanings into what has happened. You know, Muntaka has had a little bit of what do you call it? Issues with the Speaker of Parliament. There've been exchanges of words and all that. And so it is possible, for example, that some people may think that, well, it could all be part of the reason they are removing it.
We're still struggling with a connection to Professor Safo Kantanka. I'll move on to Dr. Amache Boateng. Those two questions to you as well. What are your quick reflections? Do you agree with Professor Safo Kantanka?
Definitely. I don't think it's going to represent any opportunity for the ruling party to cash in. On the contrary, I expect the NDC to come out stronger. I expect them, among other things, to even go into trade-offs. The party's leadership will definitely not rescind their decision. And then Honorable Haruna Muntaka could be even ahead of time, promise certain, key offices so that the party moves on. Like I've always been emphasizing, interest drives politics. The whole party NDC has an interest, and this interest should reflect that of the individual members. And the core thing is that they want to be in government. And this, to me, will drive all of them into behaving in a way that will let them come around, acknowledge, the mistakes made behind the scenes as they engage one another, and moving forward, agree on certain mechanisms of handling issues of this nature. And of course, positions matter. Positions matter. And so, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, you come up with what role you want to play in the next government. All these things could be, factored into the mechanisms that could be deployed to address this challenge. So yes, it's not really ignoring the current challenge the NDC is facing. Is not ignoring into the benefits of the ruling party. I expect them to come out stronger at the end of the day.
If we have Prof back, I'd like to hear what your take is on the speakership of Bagbin and the role he has to play in all of this. Prof?
Yes, as I was saying, Muntaka has had a little bit of issues with the speaker over the period. And so it could be part of the game that is playing out. For example, you have a Speaker of Parliament who is a sympathizer of the opposition. And therefore, you want always to court his attention. You want to court his interest so that certain decisions may be taken to favor you in some ways. That is possible. But if you have a leadership that is perhaps is in conflict with the speaker's position and all that, or the speaker himself, then maybe it would be better to get somebody who the speaker may find easy to work with. So that is a possibility that could have happened. I believe that even in taking decisions, the speaker may have been consulted by the leadership of the NDC. I'm just assuming, and it's possible, because we are bringing a leadership that is going to work with you. This is what we want to do. I'll be surprised if the speaker wasn't contacted or consulted in any way. However little or subtle it is, they may have done that. They might have.
Well, still connectivity issues as far as Prof's connection is concerned. Doc and Prof, to wrap the conversation, I'd just like to find out from both of you. So moving forward, assuming you had been consulted by the NDC, about how to get out of this lurch, so to speak, what roadmap would you have given them? If the NDC consulted you, both of you, give us a roadmap. How do we get out of this? From your standpoints, what would you propose to them? I'll start with you, Dr. Amache Boateng.
That's okay. We ask them to, move out of their various places and converge at a particular place somewhere in Ghana. I mean, the leaders involved in this issue, of course, including the Speaker of Parliament and all key members of the party, they should all get out of their comfort zones and meet somewhere, address the issue dispassionately, allow everybody to come out with his position, displeasure, and everything. Especially Honorable Muntaka's case will have to be handled delicately. He is facing an opposition in his constituency. And very soon, the party will be going into their primaries. The party shouldn't behave in any way to let Honorable Muntaka suspect that, look, the party even will want to get him out. So these are very sensitive issues. So they should go out there and allow everybody to lay the cards on the table. And then the leadership, possibly even the party's elders will want to, play the leadership role in settling this issue, given the fact that the current national leaders are also interested actors in the case. So they will simply start from the position where they all have a common interest and then find solutions to each particular issue. So they should lay their cards, they should table all the issues raised, and then they address them one after the other. It will always, such an arrangement will always find, ways out, because, like I said, political parties, when they are in opposition, they are unemployed. And so their teaming supporters too, or in a way, become affected. So if at the end of the day, they are able to come out with something that is agreeable to the parties concerned, the party directly affected, definitely their followers and then their supporters in parliament, their followers in the constituencies will all fall in line with them. So this is what I would suggest.
I just have a quick follow-up. I said that would be the final question. Just because I know maybe the connection may not be too good to Prof. I'll stay with you and then we'll wrap before we go to Prof. This 8th Parliament has been unique, hasn't it? And out of curiosity, we saw how violently it birthed this 8th Parliament, the election of a speaker. We had a minority speaker for the first time, so to speak. He's a speaker for all, but we had a speaker from the minority end for the first time. Then there was also that push for the removal of Ken Ofori-Atta from the MPP's end. First time as well. It had never happened before. You may have to go to the, Liman era to find even a budget being contested the way budgets have been contested in this period. Then you come to the NDC and there is this reshuffle midstream. There are so many firsts with this 8th Parliament. What do you make of all of these happenings?
Ben, one critical thing is our democracy is yet to deliver economic goods. And at that time I asked my students and then they told me we've been in it for roughly 30 years. If that is the case, then we have not done well. Our democratic practice has not delivered economic goods. And this characterizes the environment that is affecting everybody else. And I like to believe that that is one reason Ghanaian electorate gave Ghanaians the current parliament, the way they gave us. The rejection of some of the members of parliament by the constituents, I think they were all driven by economic factors. And then in parliament, the minority saw an opportunity for, one of their own to become the speaker, and they went all out to get it. So other developments happened. Pressure from the grassroots. Seriously speaking, the MPP members of parliament know that many of them are going to be, thrown out. And political scientists argue that politicians are afraid of just one thing, the next election. So to me, this is the main factor that is driving all these things happening. You have not gone into the minds of the NDC's leadership that took the current position. But like they came out to tell all of us that one reason is in a way to re-strategize for 2024. What does it mean? They want, this 8-year change to recur. And interestingly, this is the first time to the MPP coming out, but for slogans that have been very characteristic of Nigerian slogans and nice, catchy expressions. But then the actions to get them become realized have always been missing. So they've been shouting that they're going to break the 8. The NDC will stay down and fold, its arms. It should do something. And you have a new party chair. He's in office with energy and will want to affect certain developments in the party that to him will enable the party achieve its overall goal. So I think we are in a particular turbulent time in Ghana, driven by economic factors, and these also affecting our politics. And so our inability to let our institutions function properly has also been exposed. So that in the election of the Speaker of Parliament, we couldn't stay away, and allow the systems we've put in place to roll itself out. But then it's not necessarily a minor, because we saw in I think the year 2021, 6th January, United States of America, they were ready, people were ready to simply abrogate the political processes that was delivering a new leadership. If they did that there, then we can't blame anybody anywhere in the world, when their democracy fails to allow the systems to work. So I think we will take it as a normal development that is happening, occasioned by the exigencies of the time.
We saw how former President Mahama intervened with the elections of their youth leaders when there was a lot happening on social media and mainstream media, Broja Jemfi and the others. Should he, I want a yes or no answer to this because we've run out of time. Should John Dramani Mahama intervene in this matter? Prof?
Yeah, hello. Well, it will be a very delicate issue because, you see, if he intervenes, what does it mean? Because already people have raised certain concerns. I don't know whether they are true or not, that people are talking about those who have expressed, who don't support former President Mahama's bid to become the standard bearer of the party in the 2024 elections have always been targeted. You remember during the chairmanship race, that kind of thing came out. There are those who think that, well, Haruna Muntaka have been booted out because of their anti-Mahama stance and all that. I don't know whether that is true or not, but that's what people are saying. So if he comes in to intervene, what will be the implication? What will be the meaning? Okay, so for me, instead of he intervening as an individual, I would prefer that the leadership of the party will identify the various interest groups, former members of parliament. I've heard Cletus Avoka has spoken. Other people have spoken, other elite groups in the party. So it will be better for the leadership of the party to identify all these interest groups, meet with them, have serious discussions with them, and discuss the way forward. I think it can easily be resolved. And then those who are concerned, like Muntaka and Haruna and the other two members who have been removed from the leadership position, or whatever. I think that that kind of discussion is what is most important. That is a key thing. And for me, going forward, if Muntaka and Haruna will be ready to move along with the party and do what that assurance that their constituencies in electing parliamentary candidates, their positions will be secure.
Thank you very much for your time, Professor Kwabena Safu-Kantanka there. He is the Dean Faculty of Arts at the UCC. And earlier you heard Dr. Amakye Boateng, who also shared his thoughts on what's happening with the NDC. So we've got our fingers crossed, Benjamin, to see how things pan out and whether or not we will see key members of the party trying, as they say, elders of the party trying to intervene in this matter. So you heard the story there of this young boy who really needs to be taken care of in order to achieve his dreams. Well, Nanaya Esiedua, channel lead Joy Learning, joins me this morning for a conversation on what you just saw and what the bigger plan is. So Nana is going to be telling us what Joy Learning's project role in solving some of the gaps they've identified within the system, how they've been. Welcome, thank you so much for joining us, and great work you're doing at Joy Learning.
Thanks for having me, dear.
All right, great. So tell us more about what you've been doing and what the big dream is.
Okay, so for about 3 years now, the multimedia group has introduced a project named Joy Learning. We started as a television channel. But before then, the year 2008, Multimedia had a fund called the Educare Fund. We used to identify very brilliant students who didn't have the need, the resources for educational needs. We provided them with the education, we paid their school fees, and then other learning resources until 2017. That's the introduction of free SHS, because the students who were being taken care of were senior high school students. So until the introduction of the free SHS, the managers of the fund realized that the fund would be redundant. So then we needed to find ways and means to make it more useful. And that was when we introduced the Joy Learning project. The beginning of the project started with a television, a TV, broadcasting lessons for senior high school. And then just as COVID struck, in 2020, we decided to expand to include JHH students. And now we are producing lessons for basic school. I'm giving you this background for us to understand where the Joy Learning project started. Now that we have introduced the lessons, we've realized that, yes, even though that we are producing lessons and airing them on television, we have provided ways and means for students, even though they are back in school, they can access our lessons from YouTube and other digital platforms. We may, if we have to continue this way, we may be biased to the underprivileged students
who do not have access to television or even electricity, like we saw in this story.
Nothing at all. So then we decided that we need to go beyond the production of lessons on television and then go directly to the communities. So I have toured Ghana. In fact, Bernice, I've been to so many, almost all the communities in Ghana. We identified the underprivileged ones and we visited them. We've been to Western North region. We visited Ashanti region. We visited some communities in the Western, like Anamatawa, Biposo, and then some as in the Ashanti region like Dumechi, and a lot more in the Volta region. Some people may say that why the South and why not? Why? Because if you want to talk about poverty, the rate is usually high in the North. But look, there are so many communities in the South that are really suffering, and I know you are aware because of the project that you are embarking on JoyNews, the School of Shame. So we identified the students. I went to Dumechi. I spoke to this gentleman who had a beautiful handwriting in a classroom built of laterite. And I was surprised to see him being interviewed in front of a school which is built with cement and blocks, because the classroom that I went to meet Isaac Isaka, the story that was just aired, was a sad situation. But I understand when I saw him being interviewed in another classroom block, which is still in the same compound. The situation was there because I asking him how he was able to prepare for his BEC examination. That was when I understood the need for us to support these needy children. The gap is there. The resources are scarce. They do not have it. We cannot say that now we are leaving the burden on the government, because government has been there for years. Nothing has been done. Now multimedia has noticed the gap. We are coming in to support what the leadership of Ghana is doing.
So what exactly are we hoping to do for this young boy, and by extension for many children like him?
So just as I said, now that we have been able to identify the gap and introduce the Joy Learning project, now after airing lessons for years, after 3 years of operation, now we are introducing community impact projects. The first impact project, just as I mentioned on TV, is what we call the community viewing centers. We want to put up learning centers for these children, so that right after school, or even those students who will be left loitering around, we can put up a simple shed, a TV with a TV, and then with some chairs there, so that we work directly with the community leadership. The students can move to watch Joy Learning at any time of the day, depending on the timetable that we provide for them with the guidance of the community leadership. The second project that we also intend to back on is the urban slum child. Most people will say that the underprivileged and underserved children are found in the rural areas, but there are so many young children who are left loitering around because of some peculiar situations. Now we want to also...
Even in the urban centers,
yes,
right here in Accra?
Yes, right here in Accra. You testify if you go to these slum areas. There are a lot of children loitering around because maybe their parents may not be able to afford for their educational needs. So we intend to put up learning centers in these communities, so we can reduce the number of students who would be loitering, young ones who would be loitering around with no access to these educational needs. And then the third community impact project is what we have termed the prisons project. We know that there are a lot of young ones who, because of some situation, they may end up in prisons. There are a lot of young ones who are supposed to be reformed in prisons. We are supposed to support them. They end up in prisons. They may come out not completely reformed. Now, what we intend to do is these students, these young ones who are there, whether they are adults, they should be able to have access to their educational needs. So we intend to set up community, we intend to set up these learning centers in prisons, so we can support the reforms project in the prisons as well.
Right. This is really laudable. And I know you're here to let us know and understand what Joy Learning is doing, but not necessarily to court support. But what if somebody is watching and would want to be a part of this project? How do they do so?
Okay, good. So we have carried this, I won't say a burden, but a multimedia group with its leadership have carried this for 3 years. It is expensive, because you can imagine producing lessons from SHS to the primary school. It's huge cost. Now we have come to a point that we want to open up. We are yet to launch a fundraising activity to include all interested persons, to include foreign missions, to include NGOs. So currently we are having conversations with people. If you are watching me, if you belong to an institution, if you want to help in any way, yes, we can have a conversation now before our fundraising activity, which will be launched very soon. So you can talk to me on 0302 211 688. You can call the multimedia lines, and then you ask.
Can you go over the number again?
Yes, 0302 211 688. You can call, have a chat with the channel lead. Myself, we can have that conversation.
Interesting, and this is a really laudable initiative, and we are proud as the Multimedia Group to be doing this, because we believe in education and we believe in access to education. And so you can join us, you can help, you can call Nana, and she will gladly let you know how you can help us. Once again, Nana, to you and the team, congratulations and thank you for doing this. And definitely, we'll be back to tell the story when the Impact Project is fully launched, and when the young people you saw in that story receive their packages from us. Thank you, Nana.
Yes, and I would want to take this opportunity to also say thank you saying thank you to all our stakeholders, our viewers, especially the management team, the leadership of multimedia, and all the Joy Learning team, Anita and the rest of the team who put together this documentary. I want to say thank you to all of them.
All right, thank you as well. Well, Season 3 of the All Men Talk Show, the BMPS show, is back on your TV screens on Joy Prime. What do you think men talk about when they meet? Is it only about women, family? Do they talk about work, politics, health, technology, or what celebrities are up to, or what song is trending? Join the bold, muscled, pot-bellied, and skinny men on the best entertainment show in Ghana, the BMPS show, as they deliver fun-filled episodes about everything you can think of from a man's perspective. Stay tuned to Joy Prime for the ultimate experience from the first episode of Season 3 this Friday on the 27th of January 2023 at 9 p.m. and there's a repeat on Sundays at 9:30 p.m. The BMPS show is brought to you by Jameson Whiskey, Jameson Triple Distilled, twice as smooth. Do stay with us. When we come back, we're going to have that conversation on G-Step. Now let's talk about the Ghana Science, Technology and Explorer Prize, G-Step simply put. I'm sure by now you know that the Junior 6 of Wadara Basic School won the exhibition challenge. This morning though, I've been joined by the first runners-up. Victor Aga is a teacher with the Osuhom JHS, and Selinam Apenyo is with the team that won this for the school, and the LPG detector team. Let me say welcome to you and congratulations.
Thank you.
I love your smile. How does this make you feel, this prize that you won?
I'm very excited, like very, very excited and very happy, because this is going to help the development of Ghana, yes, and also it's going to help our school too.
All right, so have you always been interested in science and technology, innovation?
Not really, but since I joined G-Step, I realized that I have interest in science and technology.
So tell us more. I'll come to you, sir, but just permit me today to put the spotlight on here. How did you come up with this solution? What problem were you hoping to solve with the LPG detector?
So in our community, we had a fire outbreak at Trade Fair. So it dawned on us to create a device which will help minimize fire outbreaks. So we built an LPG detector so that it will detect LPG leakages in the atmosphere, which may lead to a fire outbreak.
So how does it work? What does the detector look like, and how does it work?
It's square. So like if there is a leakage in the atmosphere, there is a gas sensor which will sense it and send a signal to a certain component inside, which will switch on the red lights, signaling that there is a leakage in the atmosphere. We have a red LED and a green LED. The red LED shows that there is high concentration of gas, and the green LED shows that there is low concentration of gas. And when there is a leakage or not, there will be an inscription on the LCD screen. And also when there is a leakage, there is a buzzer which will sound an alarm.
You're such a confident, expressive, eloquent young lady, and I know that you go very far, but let me find out from your teacher. I mean, this was a competition, if I may say, involving schools from Greater Accra in the Ashanti region, and you were first runners-up. And tell me, for you, how you felt and how it has been like leading the children to this point.
It hasn't been easy. Hard work. And the God factor is also there. We started with them as 5, then there are 6 as a team. And as she just said, we're supposed to identify a problem and try to solve it. So LPG gas is used in all the homes that we can. So if you can find a device of detecting a leakage at very fast time so that you will not light a match to explosion, then we are at a good job. So that's how we came about to put that device together.
Did you build it from scratch?
Yes. Fortunately, just provided us with all the resources, the materials that we need, first of its kind. So all we need to do is to just demand that this is what we need, this is what we need, and they provide for us. So we put everything together.
working as a group with these young students was a challenge. But somewhere along the line, the interest was just growing up and up and up, and we enjoy working together.
So what is it like? Is this infused in your regular daily curriculum, or you need to meet outside of school hours to develop and have conversations around the project?
It wasn't infused, but we determined that we should meet at a certain time, work at it. If there's a problem, we have a platform where we put the problem there, go home, Google up, search for it, come back, together we meet. We identify the problem, whatever your research, and we pick the best and we go with it. So that's how we work as a team, and has been perfect with us so far.
Right, Selinam, you told me you were very, very, very excited. So what's the next step for you? Are you still going to continue being an innovator, an explorer? Just tell me what you hope to build upon and when you see yourself in the future.
So now, what we are going to do is to make more, give to people to try it for some months, so that we'll see how well it works. After that, we'll produce more and we'll get feedback, we'll produce more and market it for sales.
Okay, but you personally, what's your dream now, seeing that you're interested in innovation and science? What do you hope to do in the future with all that you're learning now?
I hope to be a lot of things, but more
I like that.
Be an engineer,
okay,
a urologist, an actor, a fashion designer, and more.
I like it. You're very ambitious, very young, and all the options are available to you. And don't let anybody tell you you can do all of it. You can actually do all of it. Because for me as a media person, some of the exciting stories we hear are people who are first-timers. I remember reading the story of a man who was a first-time gynecologist specialist and pediatrician specialist. And sometimes people will tell you, oh, it's not possible. How do you want to be an engineer, a fashion designer, and an actor? But you can do all of that, okay? Okay, so to you, sir, what's next? You just shown us or told us what you hope to do with the product, marketing it eventually. But for you as a teacher, what's your dream? How do you hope that we can expand this concept of problem solving among students and pupils in Ghana?
Well, at the just ended G-Step ceremony, they have launched the third stage of it, and we are planning to enter again. And this time around, we are going with so many topics that we hope that when they go through sieving, at least one of our topics will be selected so that we'll go at it again. What we have done, we have a future plan. So far, the source of energy is battery. We are planning that we'll have it, develop it so that we can plug it into a socket, a main socket, so that it will be powering, or plug it into a power source, a power bank that will give you the power it needs to run. And also ask through the government that make our product compulsory for all the LPG producers and users to procure our component so that they can save life and property. So we'll try to ask government to make a policy for that so that we can have an open market for our produce.
But what about children learning to be innovators? As a teacher, how do you hope that we spread this principle of teaching children to be problem solvers?
Well, it's fortunately part of the prize that we won was material worth 50,000 cedis for our school, a STEM material. So we are planning and hoping that when those materials are provided for us, we'll use them in the schools, that they will do practical aspects, hands-on. Apart from the theory, they will be practicalizing everything because we'll be having access to those materials that we need to make teaching and learning a very enjoyable task for both teachers and students.
Finally, for you, Selina, what would you like to tell your colleagues, children like yourself, especially young girls, who are scared, when they think about engineering, when they think about STEM, sometimes we make it look so scary. But what would you like to tell them about it and why they should embrace it?
It's quite easy. If you practice and you get used to it, you start to develop interest in it. So I'll encourage them to also join this G-Step challenge because it's very interesting and exciting. A lot of things happened yesterday and they were very excited. So I'll encourage them to find problems in their society and try to solve them, especially girls. We want girl power.
I love that. Look out for this young girl, such a bubbly, bright, eloquent, confident girl. Selinam Kukwa Bright Appiah is her name, and she's with the LPG detector team, and they are from the Usuhum JHS, and they participated in the G-Step Challenge. They were the first runners up. She was here together with her teacher, Mr. Victor Aga, and they've been telling us what they've been up to and encouraging you to be interested in STEM education. We will get interactive with you shortly, but let me say thank you to you once again for joining us, and thank you, Mr. Aga, for leading these children. We're grateful to all the teachers who are dedicated to helping our children become problem solvers. Now, water is life. It regulates your body temperature and keeps you alive and kicking. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all occasions: 330 ml and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 ml for heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. We've introduced a special 19-liter jar for offices and homes. Now, you just need to stay awake with Awake purified drinking water wherever you go. Come on, grab a bottle of Awake water and get quality hydration. Awake purified drinking water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's produced by Casapreco. Please call 026-235-1251 for bulk purchases. This advert is FDA approved. We'll be interactive with you in a minute. Do stay. And it's time to get interactive with you on the AM show. The number to call 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691. What are your thoughts on the issues that we've discussed this morning? Today we've been talking education, Joy Learning Project, and speaking to the first runners-up of the G-Step Challenge. We've also been talking about the NDC's minority leadership and what's happening in Parliament, what the future looks like. We've been interacting with political scientists and political watchers, and we have been letting you in on what your thoughts are. Benjamin. Benjamin has a very interesting smile on his face. Benjamin, should I let them know what's been happening?
Don't do that.
Okay.
No mischief.
Okay. I let the mischief from Benjamin anyway. Joel is our first caller from Cape Coast. Benjamin, you've been saved by Joel. Hello, Joel. Let's hear you. What are your thoughts this morning?
Yeah, good morning, Ben and Bernice.
Good morning.
I want to really talk about the tech program.
Please go ahead.
I think the school did that well for coming out with that good and laudable idea. But I want to say that if we can push them further, it will help. Most of the times we do this and then it end up in the lab. I'm a science teacher, and I know how at times we struggle to come up with ideas like this, but it doesn't go anywhere. So we can support them more.
Right.
It's very good.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
I want to also say that the BEC result that is out, we the examiners that have marked the BEC, they have not paid that. And that is very, very bad.
All right. Joel, we will follow up on it, but thank you for sharing that with us. So we will be asking why they've not been paid after working. Obviously, you deserve your pay after working. So what you're seeing on your screens there are some of the visuals from the G-Step Challenge and the projects that these young students worked on. They had to show a prototype, had to demonstrate. First of all, they had to tell us the problems that they identified. So the winners there, the Udara, it's an all-female team. Very excited. Female team there, and it's really exciting what they've done. Ishmael is our next caller. Hello, good morning, let's hear you.
The line is a bit thin.
Hello, Ishmael, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
All right, please share your thoughts with us.
I'm calling from Bawi, and I want to talk on the G-Step.
Please go ahead.
Okay. I pray that the G-Step program could be linked with all schools having their co-curriculum activity in the science field, so that it can be expanded and also used as a form of expanding the understanding of the students to appreciate technology. Once they see their friends doing it, they also have the desire to also come into it and also expand. The main thing is we are solving problems. So everybody is willing to bring an idea and also create something. This is what I think should be done for the schools as a profile from activity.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. And Benjamin, I'm really excited that our callers are all contributing to the G-Step conversation because
interesting.
It's interesting and it makes learning fun for these children, you know. When I spoke to Selinam, she spoke about how she was a bit hesitant, but as she got along, she realized that this was really exciting because then you know that you're contributing something to society and it's helping us get better as a people.
And it's that excitement, really, in the eyes of children that often gets them curious, and that curiosity can lead to who knows what next invention we would come up with. So kudos to them, and we look forward to a lot more. But I must just say, though, in the last how many years, the robotics, science, you know, thing
is catching up.
Yes,
it's catching up. We have another caller. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Please share your thoughts with us. Who am I speaking to, by the way?
Yeah, Bernice, this is Akonoba. How are you?
Akonoba, we are doing well.
Benjamin.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, okay.
Kindly share your thoughts with us.
Yeah, with me, I want to go back on the minority issue. See, I think Honorable Mutaka and Aruna should know that the party is not for them. You know the best thing that they can do. Dr. Amati said something. He said, ultimately, the both of them want the party to come to power. And when the party comes to power, Muntaka and Aruna will be the first beneficiary, and not me. Okay? They will be the first beneficiary in their family. So why is it that they don't want to come out and tell their supporters to calm down and let's solve the issue internally? Is this even an issue? You've been a minority chief whip for God knows long. You've been a minority leader for God knows long. Why do you still want to be in power? But you see, the LDP are happy. They don't know they have lost credibility. You see, the NDC is telling Ghanaians that even in opposition, nobody is above the NDC party. So when we come to power, we are going to make sure there is a reshuffle. None of these are afraid of reshuffle. And a government which is afraid of reshuffle is dangerous to our economy. Yes, and you see what is happening. Why is Nana Akufo-Addo failing to reshuffle his ministers? But NDC, we've reshuffled our leaders. So we are sending signals to Ghanaians that Ghanaians, don't let this agitation change your mind. Until President Akufo-Addo gets the balls to reshuffle, don't take him serious. And until he reshuffles finance minister, who every Ghanaian, most Ghanaian, 90% says he is not on top of the job, don't take him serious. And I doubt that Akufo-Addo can do that. So when they come and sit on the television, they start talking anything. Tell them that they should have the balls to tell them Akufo-Addo.
Right.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, Akonoba.
The only Akonoba, it's interesting that name though, because the only other Akonoba I know is female. So I think it's one of those unisex
Probably.
names.
Yeah.
But interesting point he makes about the minority caucus and its leadership. We may have time just for one or two more calls if we have a call on hand. 0302 211 691 0302 211 691. It's on your screens right now. We have Akumuju from Tamale. If I murdered your name, please pardon me. What's your name?
Akonotu.
Akonotu?
Yes.
Right. Please go ahead with your thoughts.
I'm going to make a contribution to the submission on your TV program.
Right. Go ahead.
Yesterday, I've been watching JoyNews programs, and you people, you are doing very good. JoyNews TV is a partner to the development of this nation. Yesterday, about these schools and the trees, or is it schools under shame?
Schools without furniture.
Hello?
Schools without furniture.
Yes, school without furniture. A guy who claimed to come from U.S., lambasting, it is not everything that they put on show. Even U.S., where he's coming from, there is such schools, and they always leave it to the back, and we are putting our own on the on TV, on national TV, which is very bad. To me, ask the man there, the deplorable nature of these people sitting there, will he be in position to send his child to Pandai school? Even if he's a worker and they transfer him there. He will go there on Potomato and let his children have better education elsewhere. So such people, when media highlight something and they come out to lambast the media, if they are paid by their political elite people,
right?
Joy Media is an independent station office station who does its work without any doubt of fear or favor. If it goes in favor of other political parties, it's okay. And we also 2015 where the second gentleman described it as unacceptable to see children under that. Is it different from today?
So I mean, we're grateful. The point has been made, and in fact, I echoed that yesterday as well. I think the man was mentioning somewhere South Dakota or something of the sort, but I roundly mentioned that was not correct. But it's interesting. We had Akonoba, and now we have Akonotu. Too interesting.
Yeah.
That's quite a coincidence.
Yeah. But thank you all so much for joining the program today. That's all time will allow us, but we are grateful. Before we go, happy 80th birthday to Madam Grace Ifa. You are Professor Elsie Ifa Kaufman's mother. Professor Ifa Kaufman is quiz mistress of the National Science and Maths Quiz, and so we are grateful to you, Mom, for giving us this special gift. Happy 80th birthday to you. We wish you long life and prosperity and many more years ahead.
That reminds me, I think Professor Kaufman became the first dean of the engineering department, female dean of the engineering department. Yeah. Congratulations to her as well. And on that note, on this very colorful note, you see how colorful I am this morning, together with Bernice and Lansah. By the way, what she was about to say was that I had something in my mouth. I'd eaten something.
Anyway, thank you so much. We wish you a very good weekend. Please stay safe, stay alive, don't drink and drive. And please have fun in moderation. So God willing, on Monday, we'll be back here discussing matters of national interest and ones that matter to you. But for now, from myself, Bernice Lansah, and Benjamin Akakpo, it's goodbye.
Chill, but don't freeze.